All right, welcome to the broadcast today. We're so glad to have you all with us. It is another day that Yahweh our Elohim has made. We shall rejoice and literally be glad in it. I'm hoping that you all are hearing okay. I just couldn't sit inside today. I just couldn't sit inside today. And sitting outside in my neighborhood, just relaxing and hoping that you all are having the opportunity of a lifetime to have Yahweh invited into your homes and celebrating Him in the ways that He should be celebrated. Clubhouse, let me know if you guys can hear me okay one more time. Facebook, would you do me a favor? Please let me know you guys can hear me. I would be so pleased if you would do just that. It would be a joy to have you do that for me. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, give me again a way of knowing that you guys can hear us okay. It'd be a joy for me. Give me a thumbs up or something like that. Yeah, you're seeing it right. I'm just out here trying to chill out, and I got that sun right on my forehead, don't I? There you go. How's that? Let's see if that works better for you guys. All right, there we go. Much better, I think. I hope. Much better. Okay, so good to be with you guys. Hope that you're enjoying yourselves today and that all things Elohim are explaining and coming towards you. Thank you, Doreen. Thank you, Yolanda. Appreciate you. Happy celebrations to all of you today in celebrating your Shabbat. Thank you, Karen. I'm so grateful for your thumbs up. Why is Spencer not modded, please? Whoever's modding, make sure the moderators are modded. Thank you. Pastor Spencer, I'm hoping to get a chance to chat with you and volley with you today. Please tell me you're free. And yes, the room is private. I've made it private with purpose, um, because it's about those of us who are trying to live this. It's not a this isn't a this is a lifestyle. This isn't about trying to see how many likes we can get or who's with us or who's not with us. Our goal is to bring everything to light for you, for me, that Elohim desires our lives. More so than that, he desires our hearts, and we want to make sure we're a part of that and giving him what he wants from us. I love the nature. I can sit and listen to these birds squawk and hawk all day out here, and sitting on this lake just always brings me great joy. Hoping again that you all realize that the firmaments declare his glory. That's what Psalms 19 tells us, and I love it because it's a great way of looking at how Elohim does with us when we are truly in him. And he says that the heavens declare the glory of Elohim, and the firmament shows his handiwork. Day unto day utters speech, and night unto night shows knowledge. There is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. Their line has gone out through all the earth, and their words to the ends of the world. In them hath Elohim set the tabernacle for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming forth out of its chamber, and rejoices as a strong man going to run a race. His going forth is from the end of the world of the heavens, and the circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. And the law of Yahweh is perfect, it is converting of the soul. The testimony of Yahweh is sure, it makes wise the simple. The statutes of Yahweh are right, they rejoice the heart. The commandments of Yahweh are pure, they enlighten the eyes. The fear of Yahweh is clean, and they endure forever. The judgments of Yahweh are true, and they are righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yep, even than much fine gold, sweeter also than honey and the honeycomb. Moreover, by them is thy servant warned, and in keeping of them there is great reward. Verse 12, who can understand his errors? Cleanse thou me from secret faults, and keep back your servant also from presumptuous sins, and let them not have dominion over me. Then shall I be upright, and I shall be innocent from the great transgression. So let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, Yahweh. You are my strength, and you are my redeemer. Well, today is that day that we do honor and celebrate Elohim, who is worthy of all glory, worthy of all honor, literally worthy of all of our praise. And to him be that glory. To him be that honor. To him be that praise. So let's take opportunity to pray, shall we? Yahweh, we do bless, exalt, and extol you for one, who you are and why you are. asking you to be with us, to be in us, to be through us, to be toward us, for your name's sake and for your praise. We come today delighting in you, giving you free access to everything that we are. Even in my space today, in my neighborhood here in front of my property, we pray you, Father, that you would let us just be clear and have a breathable moment. We're asking you that your words would penetrate our hearts and our minds would soak in your word. You alone are glorious and magnanimous. You alone are holy. You alone are righteous. And you alone are Elohim. We thank you for the blood that cleanses us from all sins. We thank you for the purpose of life that you have given unto us and how you magnify your spirit within us and towards us. We love you today. We exalt you today. And we praise you today for who you are. Be our glory as we desire to baruch you. We kneel down in front of you. We bow down before you. We place no one in front of you. No demigod, no idolatry, nothing that is not of you or like you. And we give your name the glory, we give your name the honor, and we give your name the praise. To you be that, both now and forevermore. Forgive us of any and all sins, any thought, idea, any word we could have brought, come up with, done, performed, produced, been a part of. We're asking you to forgive us. Have mercy on our very souls. Grace us with your spirit and your presence. You alone are holy. You alone are righteous. We love you. We give you our name. We take your name. We honor you for who you are and why you are in our lives. Now today, have your way. Now today, we give you the preeminence. Now today, there is literally none like you in all of the earth. And we are excited to know you, excited to bless you, excited to love on you, excited to call your name, excited to extol your name, excited to be a part of who you are, where you are, and when you are in our lives. We bless you now, Yahweh, and we exalt you because of who you are and why you are. You alone be glory, you alone be dominion, you alone be all the power, both now and forevermore. In the mighty name of Yahushua HaMashiach, we all pray and we all say, Amen. All right, everybody, we're here again, just looking to exalt him who has given us life, who's given us help, who's given us hope, who's given us strength. And we're thankful. Every day is another day that we learn from and we live from. Not always the best of circumstances, as we like to say, but in every situation, we learn something and we grow from what we learn. Um, Elohim is such a vast, unexplainable, almighty, all powerful, only true and living, divine. We say El Elyon. We say Most High God. I don't even like saying Most High God because there is no other God of creation that are actually responsible for creation. Any other God is a God created in our mind. That's the only way I can connect them to any element or form of creation at all. Because man created them in his mind. But the Elohim, El Elohe Israel, the God of Avram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, yeah, he is the creator. And he allows us, made in his image, to create for our world because he's given us dominion over this world. Whether we have rightly used it or not is another issue in itself. But there is only one true and living Elohim, El Elohe Israel, creator of heaven and earth and all that therein dwells. All that therein dwells. So every demigod we've made up in our intellect, every polytheism we've come up with, every other monotheism we've come up with, it is man's making. Elohim is what made and who made man, and gave man the ability to have what we call free will, and has given us a morality, given us a book of instructions to follow as humanity. And we would do very well to keep that in the forefronts of our heads, our hearts, and our minds. So at this time, I want to make sure that everyone is aware that Elohim is where we is who he is to us and what he means to us. And we want to just bless his name. So today, is anybody excited to be in the Sabbath today? Anyone?
Yes.
Excited you are, because I know I am. And there's nothing like it on the planet for me when it comes to this time and this space. But when I get the opportunity to share with you guys and to come in fellowship with you guys, it's always exciting for me. So, anybody have any thoughts of where they want to be today on Sabbath? Anybody have a process or a thought from your studies in Torah that you want to discuss? I had someone ask me lovingly, very lovingly, Apostle, did you? They asked me a question. I'll leave it alone. But I want us here today to understand it. And they say, well, Apostle, you don't get a lot of response on your broadcasts because you don't let the people know you have learned from them as well. And so I want to make sure that you all do know we do learn from you, but lovingly as I can be and as intelligent. We've got an event going on down the street, so there's an ice cream truck that keeps passing by here with all of his music and everything. So you guys are going to hear that throughout the broadcast. But families enjoying themselves on our neighborhood, and I guess they know the guy who makes the ice cream. So, anywho, um, so the conversation came up in a very loving way from a very loved person by me that, Apostle, could it be that you don't get the response or the broadcast response that you like because you have them in a vein where people are just sitting and they're stuck listening to you? And that's me paraphrasing. That's not exactly what they said. But I thought about the question and it made me consider it, made me think. And I was sort of kind of like, well, I hear you. Um, but I want to make this clear because it does bring me to a place where I have to share it. And when you're a responsible entity for content, and we have a lot of irresponsible people with broadcasts, and we're in the Sabbath. And, I'll be honest with you, the question made me sort of kind of pause from coming on today because I wanted to really put answer to that. I really wanted to put an answer to that thought. I really wanted to put answers to that question. And as I began to do it, it just made me think, how do people really view what you do? Now, I'm not really twisted by it. It really did make me think because whenever you do something, you should always be able to know it well enough that you can render a response and an answer anytime you are questioned. Because if you can't give the plan of salvation when you've been questioned, then all the information is sort of kind of being mishandled. So I want to say this to that thought. And the question again, and I want to quote the question from someone I love very desperately, and I know they love me. The question is in earnest, and it is a good question. Everybody should have people who will check, you know, and make note of what they see, what they hear, and then respectfully submit it. So it was, and I'm gonna read it because I want to make sure y'all get it. This ain't about me, y'all. This is for everybody. Okay. I'm not caught up in my feelings. I thought it was a great question that opened up other doors. And we need to use this question for even ourselves. And where are we with it all? But here's a question. It says, I was just wondering if the people ever felt or realized that you learn or that you are enlightened by anything that we, the participants on any platform, have contributed. Then the question continued, do you think that if they know of the reveals and the things you've gained, that they would feel more inclined to participate in the conversation rather than to just get stuck in a receiving and listening mode or a question and answer mode? These are just my unsolicited yet humble thoughts. And this great leader who I love, they know ain't nothing they can say to me that'll ever make me twist up with them, submitted that. And it made me really think. And then I had to really check myself because it says, well, what do you omit? What do you emit in your space, in your atmosphere that renders people to see things a certain way and look at things a certain way that you would render? And this is an image that is received based on experiences that they've had with and without the platforms we all work on. And not offended at all, but I had to really pull my head to say, you know, we learn one from the other at all times. I learn from what you do and what you don't do. And whenever I receive anything on our platforms, I always give credit to the person I learned it from. That is just my standard, because I don't like plagiarism. And a lot of people come on these platforms and they learn, and then they take it back to another platform and act like it was something that they sweat, labored, bled over, instead of listening to testimonials from people like myself or others. And then they share it pretty much like they do on Facebook. You take people's pictures and memes and then you act like it's yours and you don't give credit to it. This is still Torah. So when Elder Rogers and I were talking once before, she, like Elder and Apostle Walker, and another beloved person, Elder Spencer, when I talk with these people, we're always trying to figure out how we can place things that we have learned in our spaces. Elder Rogers is a leader, Elder, not just spiritual leader, I mean a business leader. Elder Walker, Apostle Walker is a business leader. Spencer is a business leader. People like this, who are leading other people in life. We're always wondering, how do we take the lessons we've learned and communicate them and convey them into people that we are teaching, and they see us as a model for something. And so when I took this question, I initially said, let me run this question up the pole to those three people. Some of y'all know. And then there's some other people that I have, some Bishop Hill and um, Johnson and Jones and some other people. I said, let me run this up the hill. And I said, well, let's try it. But I didn't contact any of them. I didn't contact Elder Rogers, didn't contact Elder Walker, didn't contact Elder Spencer, didn't contact my other brothers who are of the faith. And I just sat there in contemplation. How do we project in life? And it goes to a Torah principle. They'll know you by the fruit you bear. If people think you don't learn from them, you make people, you make yourself out to be a liar. You really do. And if you ever act in this world as if you got it all together and you figured it all out, you are a bald-faced liar, as we say in some of our epitaphs. And when you begin to learn about what it looks like acting like you know it all, never giving credit to those who have encouraged you, who have enlightened you, I think this particular submitter stated, then you find yourself thinking you are better than you really are. You may be really good, but you are fooling yourself into thinking you're something that you are not. And that's where a lot of people can get themselves in trouble, which is why I had to take this question not with a grain of salt, but I had to take this question with a glass of water. I had to drink that thing down and think about it. And though they were putting it because, these people care about how our platforms go, I take that and stretch it out into how the platform of propagating the gospel's got to go. Is that what we do? Do we get together and talk about God as if we know Him so elitely that no one else's viewpoint and position of Him, though of the same faith, I'm not talking about of a separate faith, that we look at Him as if our elite knowledge of Him, our knowledge of Him is elite above all others. And for me, I don't want that ever to be image. It wasn't never the image of Messiah. But to the same question I posed to myself and I asked Elohim while I was in that time of prayer, how does that look and how do you respond to that? And then I began to study Yeshua. I didn't want to come online in my studies of Yeshua to answer that question. And I started looking at the times when Messiah talked to the people on the beach side. I started reading the passages where Messiah was feeding, with the 2 fish and the 5 loaves. He did that at least twice. Once it was 3,000 he fed, another time it was 5,000 he fed. I began to think and listen to read the stories of Paul speaking to the Ephesians and the Thessalonians and the Corinthians when he spoke to them. But then there was also times when he wrote to them. So in the writings of him writing to them, it talks about times he spoke to them. So I then took that question and sort of kind of internalized it. And I sat and then thought about Moshe, how he would teach the people what it was he knew and he understood. And then I looked at another time when the Torah had not been obeyed in such a way that the people began to, watch this, bring what they thought it meant to the forefront. And so, in the mushrooming of this question, rendering a study on my behalf, like this afternoon, this morning, which kept me from being on this early or this late, kept me from being on earlier and coming on this late, I began to look biblically at how to answer that question. Do you think that you letting the people know what you have learned from them would encourage them to share more on your platforms, like our Bible book clubs and our Sabbath studies, so that when we say something, people are not left just answering yes sir, no sir, no sir, yes sir, and just questioning and answering. And then I thought about it and I read it at different places, really looking for an answer. And I almost went and got carnal in my search, not carnal in my thoughts, just carnal in my thoughts. I wanted to go outside of the Bible and think about others who are in my category of life and how it's reflected with them. And then Yahweh was like, no, this is Sabbath. You do that another day. So I stayed with Moshe, Paul. I stayed with um, Isaiah. I stayed with uh, Yeshua. I stayed with uh, Kepha. And whenever they talked, it was never a matter, at least what we have in record, it was never a matter of reasoning with the people. As a matter of fact, though Isaiah 1 and 18 lets us know that we should reason together in the word, our reasoning together is about sitting with our family, it's about sitting with our loved ones and talking about the word and reciting the word, and then looking at things we've encountered in our days, seeing how they connect to the word, and then seeing how the word can bring us out of what we may have gotten ourselves entangled in. And so in these types of settings, which I know this beloved person was referencing, I couldn't leave it at well, yeah, you're right, or didn't think about that. I went ahead and studied it again. I filter everything how, y'all? Through the word, right? And as I went into Torah, I started with Moshe, then I started with Yeshua. And none of them asked the people what they felt about it. Messiah didn't ask them what they felt about it. He didn't concern himself with, I am not Messiah. I am not Moshe. I am not. Let me clear that part up. This is just what we concluded. And the issue was that maybe you need to stop projecting this image where you want a conversation, but then you won't allow a conversation because you're sharing so much information. And then I thought about those who do what I do, and for the same reasons that I do it. And when you're sharing, you want to sort of kind of foster an environment where everybody can converse. But then when you are in the real world of where we are today, you have those conversations with your peers, right? And when you're with your peers, you can have what is called as a debate. There was a gentleman who quoted, and I love his quote. He says, listen, I don't debate with people. I I debate only with my peers, and everyone else in this genre that I am an authority in, I teach. And I was thinking about that, and that's when he said, don't go carnal, keep it biblical. And I looked at Moshe, and I looked at Yeshua, and I looked at Paul, I looked at Kepha, I looked at OC, I looked at Ezekiel, I even looked at David. When David found himself learning and teaching, he did not have conversations with the people as to how they felt about it. They rendered it because they knew it to be the truth. And when you're rendering what you know to be the truth, you have people that will or people who will not get with it. And that choice is theirs to make. When you share your lifestyle, you're sharing it. People can choose to get with you or not get with you. Um, Quite frankly, two can't even walk together except they be agreed. And even though you may be sharing your lifestyle, Messiah sat on a boat answering questions of the people while they were sitting on the seashore several times. He then sat in a mountainside teaching the people the kingdom. He didn't ask them what they knew about it, he taught it to them. And he shared it with them, but he proved to them and gave them point blank referencing where they could go to have this matched up. Well, they already had them in their homes, and it was the Torah. So at the end of the day, everything that we do, if you don't know it, you shouldn't be talking about it. If it's just a nice, beautiful commentary and a nice, beautiful conversation you can have for what we call table talk or a conversation piece, that's different. Get the involvement of everybody and see what they say and think about it. But when you're with your peers and you're with your family, as a leader of a family, um, the matriarch and the patriarch are dealing with those they've helped to bring into the world and those they have some degree of responsibility for guiding in things of the world. And they may ask, what's the new technology? They may ask, what's the new catchphrase? They may ask, what's the new style? But it always comes back to a basic premise and a foundation. Even those fashions, even those, new trends, even those new phrases, they all come back to a base. And that base is a significant thing. And when you realize the significance of that thing, you understand that it dresses in a lot of veneer. Learning a trade will be advanced by technology. It puts on a different cloth. Same principle. Plumbing is still plumbing. The ideal is to get water from a well into your house. You initially did it by carrying buckets. Women, men, children carrying buckets. You then learn humanly you can't carry but so much at one time. So we engaged beasts of burdens. We made basins that were bigger because beasts on four legs could carry more than two legs. Then we realized the loss and the gain of that, and we then learned how to make better containers so the spillage wasn't good. Technology always advances a fundamental principle. Again, technology always advances a fundamental principle. So as I took this question for the sake of making sure we all understand, Messiah never dealt with them to the point where he was asking them what they felt about it. He gave them the information, and it's up to them to ask the questions. And if you really want to know truth, then until you ask the questions, like the rich young ruler. See, I love that story because when I was reading it this morning, in light of this question, Messiah was teaching a mass of people. Inside of this mass of people was a noble person, a person the whole community looked up to because he was probably one of the leading employers. He had political strings, he had religious strings he could pull at any point he wanted because he was a rich young ruler. So the people that were amassed knew him in a different capacity than the one Messiah was demonstrating. So as Messiah was demonstrating the Torah, demonstrating an appropriate lifestyle in Torah, which ran contrary to their religious temple worship at that given time, the rich young ruler, being a man who really didn't care what people thought, but he asked a question where most wouldn't. The point is not the question itself, it was the fact that he wanted to know. So he asked the question while this solid source of information was rendering what he had. And this was a very important and key and noble piece. It wasn't so much that he asked the question as much as it was he asked because he wanted to know. He felt that this person was rendering wisdom and he could relate as he was listening to the render. And then when he had a question about something he heard, he asked it. And that's when my answer became clear. Some of us have programs and platforms to be popular. When the Pharisees and the Sadducees left from the temple walls and the curtains and the gates of the temple in the day Messiah was on earth, and a few years prior to him, they came out to galvanize people to continue serving the God of Moshe, Avram, and Yitzhak, and Yahweh. And their purpose was to show their phylactery, to show their garb, to show and to reiterate their place of position in society. And people would fear them when they walked through the streets because they were leaders of Israel. Pharisees, Sadducees were leaders of Israel, and they led from a church state. There was government, i.e., Herod, who led from a state, governmental state, right? So those who were doing it from a church perspective, a religious perspective, they would come out trying to make sure that they let the people know that they represented the God that could comfort them in their situations, no matter what the government was going through. And in many instances, if the Pharisees, Sadducees, and Levites felt that the attendance uh, to anything the temple was teaching was in decline, they would go out and do what you and I do today in Christendom, have a revival. So when they would go out and engage more with the people, that was them becoming more personable and asking the people to come back to the faith. So when they would hear stories about people like Mashiach, who would be out in the streets and folk would gather to them and coagulate to him, they felt that was stealing from the temple. So their reason for coming out from the temple was to literally begin to share and say, hey, don't believe those guys. We're here. See us. We have the Aaronic garb on. We have the Levitical garb on. We're the people you should be listening to. The problem with that was they didn't know the writ like Yeshua knew the writ. So when they would come out from their perches, they would come out to galvanize people back to the temple. Many people who have platforms that you and I may come across and are sitting in this very room with us, sitting on our very YouTube, sitting on our very Facebooks, they don't gather for the purposes like Messiah, and I gotta say, myself and some others gather. We don't need you to like us. Our job is to get you to like him, Elohim. Our job is not even to get you to like Jesus. Our job is to do what Yeshua did. Get everyone to like the Father and understand the Father and delight in the Father and allow the Father to delight in them by sharing the information that makes that happen and makes that possible. So when the Pharisees would come out from behind the temple, when they saw a decline in what they felt was reciprocation, they did it to be liked. They did it to hold the culture that they've been nurturing in place. And then there are some of us like Messiah who, I'm not worried about your culture staying in place, especially if it doesn't line up with the writ that is supposed to be our governance. So when Messiah comes on the scene, he doesn't do what he does for likes, and he doesn't ask the people how they like it. He drops the information and then waits for them to ask questions. And when they ask the questions, now he can answer. And that's still a reasoning that goes on. He didn't have the platform, whether it was 10 people, 20 people, 100 people, 4,000, as you've seen also 5,000 people. Messiah preached to thousands, only had a core of less than 120. Some say 12. If I wanted to be dramatic, I could say he preached to thousands, but he only had 12, right? We could do that. But these are the facts of what that looks like. So he preaches to tens of thousands, ultimately hundreds and hundreds of thousands in his region, and only a small amount followed him. So he never did it for the liking of his celebrity. He did it for the information to who Yahweh wanted to celebrate. Make that a me. There are some of us who have done all the platform liking, needing people, wanting people to think that you're deep, wanting people to think that you matter, wanting the people to think that you have a word from God and you know how to help people out. And then there are some of us who I just want you to know Elohim, because I've realized I can't fix one damned thing in your life. Anything that you and I got ourselves into that brought about damnation, I can't fix it. But I know one who can. And I too have had to go here to be myself healed and fixed and everything else that goes with that. And that's the important thing. Messiah didn't come. Watch this. He said, I didn't come to bring you shalom. Wow. He said, I came to bring a sword. And what is that sword? Well, everybody go to Hebrews. I can't, unfortunately, I'm outside, so I can't give you guys my Bible on screen. So you're going to have to go to your Bibles yourself on this one. Pull up the chapter of Hebrews. And though it is not Torah, it is one of the ones who sticks as close to Torah as a prophet does. Hebrews chapter number 4. Messiah said, I did not come to bring you shalom. Your church says peace. But when he says, I did not come to bring you peace, that word peace in the Greek is the word erene. That word erene is the word for shalom in the Hebrew. Erene is Greek. It is the Greek translation for the word in Hebrew called shalom. But what happens is he says, I did not come to bring you shalom. And shalom gives you all 13 attributes of the promises and the empowerments that Yahweh wants for anyone who believes in him to have bestowed upon them. So shalom, he did not come to bring. It was already here in the word. But he did say, I came to bring a sword. Now watch why that was important. So there's a message that I teach that's called the peace of war, right? Very popular back in the day when I was doing likes and trying to get on everybody's platform to preach and teach and all over the world and getting, all that stuff that went along with being a person in what is considered my genre of life and conviction. So when Messiah said, I didn't come to bring you shalom, I didn't come to try to make you happy. I came to save you from an untoward generation that takes you further from the Father. Listen, I came to bring a sword. Why is this sword so important? I'm going to say it again because you think you know what I just said because you've heard it preached. Listen to it again. Yeshua, the living word, said, I did not come to bring you shalom. I did not come to bring you in the English peace, but I came to bring a sword. Why is that sword what he came to bring? Because society had attached itself through religious rhetoric to things that drew it further from the purpose of the temple, which is the God of all salvation and creation, and has allowed itself to be attached by other spirits that can draw it further away from the God of all salvation. This is why he came and brought a sword. Pay attention. And I don't want to hear about my phonetics and all that stuff. Y'all just, you know what I mean when I say a sword. So Hebrews chapter 4, look at verse number 12. For the word of Elohim is quick. The word of Elohim is powerful. The word of Elohim is sharper than any two-edged sword. Now, this is a significant thing to contend with. All right? Watch this. This is very, very important to watch. He says, I didn't come to bring the peace. I didn't come to bring shalom. I came to bring a sword. The word of Elohim is quick, powerful, sharper than any two-edged sword. Verse 12, Hebrews 4:12. It pierces and it even divides asunder your soul from any spirit that the knowledge of good and evil has allowed to attach to you. All right, I paused for effect. You can see the trees moving, so you know your screen's not frozen. Messiah said, I did not come to bring shalom. Shalom was given to you when he gave you guys his word. Elohim gave you his word. So shalom is not the issue here, right? He says, I didn't come to give you that because you know how to get that. I came to bring a sword, which is keeping you from getting the shalom. Your knowledge of good and evil that Adam had put in you, now incubated in you, and now brewing and stirring and growing and moving and evolving within you, each new change and phase of time and era of time. He says, I did not come to bring you shalom. You already got it, but I came to bring you a sword so that he could separate you, your soul, from the spirits that are keeping you from accessing the shalom. Now, Apostle, how did you get there from a question about, you know, can you let people know that you're learning from them? Because when Messiah, when Paul, when Moshe, when Samuel, when David, even Solomon, Kepha, Osee, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Malachi, when these men talked, they talk of what they had possessed. They weren't trying to convince themselves. I'm not trying to convince myself of any of this. It is truth. It is my conviction until death. If you hear it, it will be because you have questions, you yourself live it, you yourself can add to it and appreciate it. It's not for likes. Listen, make this a meme. I want this meme ASAP. The word read in Sabbath is not for likes, Likes. It is for life, Lifee. So Messiah didn't come on the earth so y'all could like him as Messiah. He came on earth so he could life me as Messiah. Make that a quote. Messiah didn't come and down to earth so they could like him as Messiah. He came to earth so he could life us as Messiah. Does that make sense? Absolutely. So while we are doing what we do, and I'm watching Messiah tell the people this, he says, I didn't come to bring peace. Y'all already got that. You're not accessing it because there's some stuff attached to your soul. You've allowed spirits to attach to your soul. So therefore, you're not literally in a condition where you now are fully embracing the shalom. I didn't come to bring you shalom. I came to cut off of you what is causing you not to experience shalom. Peace, happiness, strength, security, soundness of mind, welfare of being, prosperity, health, tranquility. Oh, and peace that passes all understanding. I didn't come to give you that. The word did that. I came to bring a sword that will cut all those spirits you've allowed your soul to get connected to that keep you from receiving the shalom Yahweh gave you in his word. All 13 attributes. I didn't come to bring you shalom. Shalom is already here. I came to bring a sword. Do y'all get that? Absolutely. So now when you reread Hebrews 4, when you reread Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12, the word of Elohim is quick. The word of Elohim is powerful. The word of Elohim is sharper than any two-edged sword. The word of Elohim is piercing, even dividing asunder of soul and spirit. It divides soul from spirit. Y'all thought it was like the spirit of God. No, there are so many spirits in this earthen realm. Elohim he is the creator of all spirits. He is the father of all spirits, good and evil. But then he is the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit. And the word hastens only to the Holy Spirit in him, only hastens to the word of him, which comes from him. Now, every other spirit he's also developed, but that's for the balancing of your life and this world. It's a balance. Some of people make a mistake and call it yin and yang. Some call it karma. Some call it, what goes around comes around. All of that. You can call it all you want. It's good, it's evil. It rains on the good as well as rain. It rains on the just as well as the unjust. It's going to sunshine on the just as well as the unjust. You're going to have days when they're prospering and you seem not to be. You have feast and you have famine. Y'all thought that was a coincidence? No. Because in the feast seasons, which you are coming up on September the 15th at sundown, glory, Sukkah, I proclaim Sukkah, Sukkah, Sukkah. It's coming up on you. And when it comes, you have feast and you have famine. Now, when you honor the Torah and you keep and comply with his instructions in the feast seasons, you have shalom following you all until the next feast season. And if you comply, then you have shalom following you to the next season. So when the world is experiencing what you guys have been calling, financial collapse, and you're talking about things like inflation and unheard of suppressed employment and all that stuff, it don't matter what the world, it doesn't matter what man can do unto me. When I'm in shalom, when I'm in his Shabbat, when I'm in his Moedim, when I comply with his writ, I do not have to worry about anything. He makes a table for me in the presence of my enemies who may be throwing inflation on me, trying to bankrupt me, trying to hold back anything that should be given me as a bare, basic, essential to life. But when you're in shalom, it don't matter what the world can do to you because Yahweh got you. I'm not telling you to be stupid and not be one who counts up costs, not be one who budgets. But when you are invested in the honoring and complying of his writ, it don't matter what the world systems of finance and value and gold standard or silver standards do. It doesn't. Yahweh gives you witty inventions. Yahweh makes and causes you to actually create from his word. So, the spirit, Ruach HaKodesh, of Elohim, the spirit of the God of our salvation, hastens to the word, which is the God of our salvation. So every spirit can't do for you what the spirit of Elohim can do for you when you apply the word of Elohim that was made for you in your atmosphere. Now, what's that got to do with the question that brought this thing together, Apostle? Again, Messiah didn't do it to be liked, and he didn't do it to have a conversation. He did it to have a conversion. Moshe didn't do it to have a conversation. Moshe was very clear. Moshe says, Elohim, when I get down here, leaving this burning bush, who should I say sent me? Elohim speaks and says, tell them the I will be that I will be is sending you. Okay? He says, tell them that Yad He Vad He is sending you. Okay? Telling them that the I am that I am is sending you. Tell them that the God of Avraham, Isaac, and Yaakov is sending you. the one who gave y'all the promises that you are going to be something in the earth and the promised land is just yet a little ways up the road for you, tell them I am the one sending you. Moshe doesn't go down there and ask them how they feel about it. He doesn't ask them what you think. He says, I got this charge. Here it is. I I believe it. I'm gonna go tell Pharaoh what he told me to tell Pharaoh. Aaron, you coming? Aaron, like, yeah, because you stutter too much. So I'm going with you. Okay, come on, Aaron. So Aaron and him go. And they talk to Pharaoh. They don't ask Pharaoh how he feels about it. They're not interested in the conversation. They're interested in an action to their request, which is coming from Elohim. And so at this point, the only thing that they want is what Elohim sent them to do. So for people like me, and people, just because you do what I do, don't mean you do it why I do it. Just because people, and there is a genre created around what we do, doesn't mean everybody's in it for the same reason. I assure you of it. So though it would be great to have conversations, I love this question posed because it made me really dig into, should I be offended by this? Should I take, you know, a way of looking at this? And it was like, no, take it to the writ. Do what you tell the people to do. Search it through the writ. And it opened up something so delightful for me that I believe that everybody needs to know. It wasn't until the Pharisees, who did not know the word. Let me give y'all some. Can I give y'all some history? Am I okay with y'all? Are y'all still tuned in? I want to know if y'all still tuned in. Can I give y'all a little bit of history here? Biblical history, biblical, like Tanakh, Torah history. Okay. All right, cool beans. So here we go. When Israel stopped obeying the Torah, they found themselves already divided: northern kingdom, southern kingdom, right? I did that wrong. Southern kingdom, northern. I did that really wrong. Southern kingdom, northern kingdom, right? So the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom were already divided because of Solomon's, idiocy, right? And all that he has done. And so now we find that when Israel, Jeroboam in particular, changes the Moedim dates, changes the times, changes the times of the seasons, and then changes the location that they are to go and honor Elohim and comply with Elohim in. He changes it. You have just disobeyed the Torah. Jerusalem, Udea, the Levites came back. Benjamin came down. Benjamin and Uda were already in Jerusalem. They were already in Udea. But then there came an opportunity where the Levites came down. So you have Levi, you have the Levites, you have Benjamin, you have Uda, all in Jerusalem. That is what you know as the Jewish people. The other 10 tribes remained in the northern, i.e., Samaria, and they changed what Yahweh said to do. So much so that the Levites resigned from being their priests. Did y'all know that? The Levites resigned from being the priests of those in the northern kingdom. So their group designed to remind them of all things tabernacle, all things temple, all things Torah, resigned because the king was making his own priests, grabbing his own homies, grabbing his own boys, and made them the priests. And they were like, you can't do that. I will kill you if you tell me I can't do nothing. Yo, bro, you ain't got to kill me. I'm out. Deuces. Matter of fact, I'm going to kick this rock and the other rock on my way out. You have a good life, sir. That's what took place, and that's what happened when you start dealing with the issues of the two nations, Judea and Samaria, the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. When you understand this, now you can talk about how the northern kingdom got demolished because of their disobedience to the instructions. And then the group down south who had the Levites, they eventually started to do it their own way too. Granted, they didn't change the days of the Moedim. They didn't change the place of the Moedim worship. They still gathered the 9 times as they were instructed at the place where Yahweh put his name, the Temple of Solomon. And they had done this pretty well for some time, but then over time, not so much. Then they started to get conquered. That's how they got conquered. That's how the Babylonians, that's how the Medes, that's how the Phoenicians, that's how they all took over Israel. That's how the Romans got in. That's why you got the stories of the Maccabees and Alexander the Great. That's how that happened. They disobeyed Torah. Now, let me say this, because I want to make this very clear. Once they started disobeying the Torah, even with the priests, they were scattered. Kingdoms came in, decimated the libraries of Jerusalem, took the Torah. I mean, decimated, just disrespectful, right? Just desecrated the temple and the library. Now, the issue was this, that though they did that, the people who were supposed to know Torah, many of them were old, many of them died in the sieges, and there were many wars, many sieges, many sages in the siege died. So those who could really tell you the Torah were now dead. And you needed the Torah to remember what Yahweh said if you want your people to remain and have its historicity. So what they would end up doing, and I'm doing a really fast historical lesson here. This is really fast. I'm doing major chronological leaps here. So just keep that in mind before you judge what I'm saying. So when Torah is no longer obeyed and the people no longer have the protection, because the protection of Elohim came with compliance to the writ. But if you are now making up your own writ off of memory, that's why it was called the oratorical law. You have the Torah, which Moshe had. They called it the law of Moshe. Now you have an oratorical law where the sages of old, the oldest people, were called on to remember, hey, what was in the Torah? Hey, what was the commandments of Elohim? Hey, we want to get back to serving God. And like, yeah, I think, and with good intentions, they were trying to recapture from their minds what the writ said, because their libraries had been burned, their homes were ransacked, they had been drug off of their land, they were forced into subserviency. They are scattered, and then they're divided as a people. You got Daniel, you got Ezekiel, you got Isaiah, you got Hezekiah, you got Joash, you got Josiah, you got all those stories in the Tanakh because the people didn't obey the Torah. Now, the people trying to get back to God are like, how do we put it down? They began to write what they knew. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right. And the prophets would help as well. But that sounds right. And they would write it down. And that's how you started with the rabbis collecting as best they could what they remembered of the Torah. And that's what the people began to honor. Some of it was right, some of it was off. And that's how they would sit down and start talking about what they had learned. And like, well, what you think it meant? Well, what you think this meant? It's just like we do with the Supreme Court here in the United States of America. There is an actual law, and then there's an issue of what was the intent of the law, and what now is the law actually doing? How was it intended? What's the letter of the law, and what's the spirit of that letter, right? So this is how people start talking about the word. And well, I think it mean this, and I feel it mean the other, and I feel and I think, and I, and I was sitting there and the Holy Ghost talked to me, and I was sitting there and the Spirit came to me, and I can't guarantee these spirits coming to you is the spirit of the Holy Spirit. So This is how you got a lot of what went on in that day. So by the time Messiah gets there, and they do finally get an actual copy of the Torah, they do finally find I'm giving y'all history fast. They finally do get an actual copy of the Torah, and they cherished that thing. They duplicated it as soon as they could, right? So by the time Messiah comes, uh, the Torah is sitting in place. Um, but by then, trying to get to that place where they have a solidified version, they have come up with the things that you hear me talk about often: the Mishnah, the Talmud, and one of the favorites is the Halakha. Do y'all understand that? So now that they have these sages writings about the sacred writings, the people are leaning to what the sages is saying and putting the actual sacred writings in the museum called the temple, and saying, you sages, go in and tell us what the spirit of the letter is so we can apply it in our practical lives out here. And then the sage would go in, read the sacred documents, so they say, and then come out and have a scribe. Pay attention. You've been reading all your life. Have a scribe write out what the Pharisee, what the Gadol Kohanim, what the Kohanim would say about the sacred writings. And that's how you got the Halakha. That's how you got the Talmud. That's how you got the Mishnah, which became easier received by the masses. By the time Yeshua showed up, they had been living Halakha, Talmud, and Mishnah, now called Judaism. So when Messiah showed up, the living Torah, they couldn't recognize him. Do y'all understand this? So the significance of what Elohim tries to get us to see and embrace and understand is that he wants you to know him. He doesn't want you to know him through your teachers, through your preachers, through all of this other stuff. He wants you to know the word for yourself. Go get your Torah and read it. So when you have a person like me, I'm not like Messiah. Messiah didn't come for them to like him. He, matter of fact, knew they were going to hate him. He knew that they were going to be antagonistic about everything he had to say, because they had built a life of convenience around a watered down version of their instructions. And in that watered down version, those giving the watered down version, Pharisees and scribes and lawyers, they made a killing off the people, off the masses. And they pretty much ruled Israel under that and in some cases misinformation, but it made sense to the forefathers that are now in Israel, the patriarchs who are now in Israel. And when the authentic word came through, shook up their whole foundation and construct, they wasn't having it. That's why in one instance, Yeshua was put on that cross so they could salvage the temple's new version of faith, which they felt was appropriate. Because guess what? Until Yeshua showed up, did y'all know this? Until Yeshua showed up, Yahweh had not spoken to Israel for 400 years. From Malachi to Matthew is 400 years, and you don't have one prophet speaking to Israel on behalf of Elohim for 400 years. Until Yochanan the Baptist, who was the forerunner for Yeshua HaMashiach, the Word himself. So by the time they sit and they do what they're doing and they're explaining all the different ways they should live, the Pharisees are controlling things. The Sanhedrin is controlling things. It's a subsect of the leadership of the nation. They got the king, Herod, and whatever king has conquered them, in our case, Rome. And then they have the leaders of Israel, the leaders of Judea, in the temple, teaching the people, okay, here's our God, here's what our God wants us to do. And then the Sanhedrin, and or what you know to be the Sadducees, they would be, I dare say, plants, but you got to, they would play liaisons to the new Roman rule, trying to bring a liaisons to the Judean rule, and then you had these elements called Pharisees, who were Levites and rulers of the Jews in spiritual matters and helping with the Sadducees and the Pharisees inside of a concept called the Sanhedrin. And then within that, they have attorneys, lawyers, and they have scribes who would write whatever they said was best to be done using Rome's efforts and desires and the Torah's efforts and desires. And that's how things got watered down. But y'all don't get taught that in church. So when you see the word law in your Bible, you don't know he's not talking about the Torah all the time. Sometimes he's talking about the law of the fathers, not the law of the father. Sometimes he's talking about the laws of the fathers, not the law of the father. You got to know that. So when you've understood that and you begin to really start studying the Torah and studying the core element of our faith and the tenets of it, you're like, wow, we've been doing some weird stuff. So you've been doing some very weird stuff. And at the end of the day, you must be able to know Elohim. So when Yeshua shows up, Yeshua comes on and he says, guys, I didn't come to destroy the Torah. Something that you guys have been splintering up, something that you guys have been shattering up so that you could have control. I came to show you how to do it. Apparently, they've not been doing it well. Would anybody else get that same deduction? When he says, I didn't come to destroy the Torah, I came to show you how to live it. That would indict that you're doing it wrong. Would anybody agree or disagree with that? I don't know. Y'all talk to me.
Yes, yes.
So this is what we have to really pay as close attention to as we can. What is the spirit of that letter? What was Messiah really saying? I didn't come to destroy the Torah, nor the prophets who propagated the Torah. I came to show you how to live it. I don't think you can be any clearer. So that would indict that those responsible for that action were not doing it. Now, when they resigned many, a millennia or more ago with Jeroboam, they resigned because he wasn't doing it. They came down to Jerusalem. And you know, it's funny what happens when you get in power. You will find yourself amused, engaged, and in some cases in love with your thoughts. And now, though you have power and people trust you with power, suddenly you can get lost in that power. I know it to be true because I did. So when the Levites came to Jerusalem and they're like, listen, Jeroboam up there tripping. Now I did a chronological leap again. Pay attention. I just went back millennia in time. So when they did this and they came through, they made it just was just that bad. They learned what they wanted to learn and what they wanted to do and all of that. And at the end of the day, they put themselves in a position that the Benjamites and the Judites in Jerusalem said, hey, the Levites are with us. That gave the Levites this really massive surge of energy and power. Though they had a king, Rehoboam, they set up the temple, had their Gadol Kohanim, and that Gadol Kohanim and those priests had a lot of authority. So you got three tribes there. And, you know, one thing about power, man, though you want somebody who is equal and fair in that position, you still got to check that and balance that because even someone of good spirit and Good equality can become perverted with power if it's unchecked, if it's not inspected. Proof of that is King Saul. Good guy. He got power and lost his mind. Yahweh checked David on that. Y'all remember that story? Yahweh checked David on that. David did what he could do as a king. Wasn't the right thing to do, but he did what he could do as a king. He did it. And then Yahweh came to him and says, "Is that what you really wanted to do? Show me how you really feel." So he didn't do what King Saul did, because King Saul, when he got checked by the prophets, he was like, "Well, I did what I did. I said what I said. I'm the king." He's like, "Okay, you forget Elohim put you there, right?" Elohim then anointed another, David. Now David comes and he does something in his own right, and as king has the right to do it. And then Yahweh says, "Okay, fair enough, but is that how you really feel? Here is what happened as far as I'm concerned. Yes, you are a king like other nations. Yes, I gave you your job description, but is that what you did, how you really feel?" So David was like, "Oh, snap. Against you and you alone have I sinned, because what I did, nobody can check me on. However, I take this robe off. If you coming down to tell me about it, it must be pretty bad. So I'm taking my robe off. You don't deal with King David like they have to. Elohim, you deal with David the man. I'm not going to do what Saul did. You are not going to have to replace me. Listen, my bad. David messed up. Though my nation can't check me on it, but before you have I sinned." And David puts his head to the ground, lays prostrate on the ground for 7 days to try and see if Yahweh would have mercy. And he's like, "Hey, it is what it is. Your actions produce this particular response, and this response has to carry through because there's an edict on it. Therefore, David hopes for mercy, lays out before the Father and says, 'Your will be done. I'm just dirt. I'm right here. You put me here. Forgive me for getting besides myself and thought I could do what I wanted to do.'" King David lays on that ground for 7 days while his child is sick. And when Yahweh gives permission, or he takes his breath back from the baby, the people come and tell him, "Hey, the child is dead." David got up and went about his business like nothing happened. Doesn't mean he wasn't in pain. Doesn't mean he didn't grieve. He just knew, "I messed up, but I won't make that mistake again." Put back on his kingly garb and went back to running the kingdom. But he knew now, and Elohim knew, David would never turn on him. And that's why he became a man after Elohim's own heart. When he was checked for his wrong to Elohim, not the people, he fell down before Elohim. "Hey, I take this robe off. You gave it to me. Take this crown off. You gave it to me. Here, put all this, that scepter, put that over there too. What you want from me? I surrender all." Right? Saul didn't do that. That wasn't what Saul did. Saul was like, "Well, I'm the king. I can do what I want. They wanted a king at the other nations. This is what we gave them. Here we are. Let's do this. Let's knock it out. We're going to rock it." Now, Samuel, I hear you, fam. I appreciate you looking out for me and putting the oil on my head and everything, but I'm doing this, man. I'm doing this. Yeah, go back and pray to God, and when I need you, I'll call for you. So when I'm going to war, I want to know if God gonna come and help us. So when I call for you, Prophet Samuel, who happened to be the previous king, then I'll ask you, what does God want us to do? But when you start acting as if you now are God and God put you in place, and you start acting like you have the right to do things unilaterally without Him, and then do contrary to what He said do, even though you may have been given an exemption, Yahweh wants to know, is that really how you feel? And He checks us on it. He checks us on it. And if we respond the wrong way, He balances it. And in David's case, unlike Saul, he repented. Said, "Hey, I repent to you. I only sinned against you because I could take anybody in the kingdom. Y'all don't like this. And I control the military." David, it wasn't like he hadn't sent men out to die in military battle before. Y'all tripping because it was Uriah. Now, did he do a manly thing trying to cover his actions? Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. He tried to get the man to come back twice. He did 3 different strategies to get the man to go and lay with his wife. It didn't work. Instead of just saying, "Hey, I'm the king, Uriah, I'm taking your wife," I think I might have got him pregnant. Um, I'll let you pick of all the great virgins in the city. David could have done that. Y'all know that, right? But he did. He did it. Now we're looking at it in our day like, oh, he's such a bad man. David could have told Uriah, I've taken your wife. You know what Uriah would have said to him? Yes, my king. Now, Uriah, go down there to the pool. You can pick any of the virgins that are in our city, the ones that are waiting for me. Yes, my king. There is, there's nothing that could have been done. But when Elohim checked David's conscience, that's when David realized, yeah, I don't want to mess up. I need about 50 of y'all to say, Yahweh, check me.
Yahweh, check me. Yahweh, check me. Yahweh, check me. Yahweh, check me. Yahweh, check me.
So, to that end, I want y'all to realize, understand, and embrace that everybody having a platform to teach and to share the Torah isn't doing it so you know Elohim. They're doing it so you know in their mind that they know Elohim. Whenever you're in a room with me or on a platform with me or in a pulpit with me or in a congregation where I'm teaching and questions are allowed, please ask your questions. It's not my job to draw it out of you. And sometimes I find myself trying to draw questions out of you because I know at certain points in our Bible, you should have questions right here. Somebody should have a question here. And though I might pause for effect, which is what that means, though I might reread something 18 times, that's what that means. Um, but if you really don't have a desire to know the truth, you just want to come and sit and pass time, then the questions don't stir because you're not really there to learn it. You're there to hear something different than what you knew. But like me, if I want to know, I'm going to ask the question. I'm like that rich ruler I talked about earlier. He knew he could have kept walking past that crowd of people sitting in his city, but he sat and he listened. He knew the power he had with the police and the power he had with the priests. He knew the power he had with the king. He knew the power he had with all the merchants in the region. He was a rich young ruler. He could have broke that whole crowd up if he wanted to. Ah, that's Messiah. He could not have. Yes, he could have. But he sat there and he listened. And when he sits there and he listens, he's like, oh, well, what about this? And he says, hey, great question. Do this, do that, do the other. Well, I already did that. Okay, well, now we're at the next level. Congratulations to you. Now go sell all that you got. Give what you're supposed to give to the poor and the widow, and then come follow me. And in hindsight and in retrospect, Christian have lost their mind and agreed with the guy. That's hard to do. I ain't selling all I got and then giving it all away. He never told that man to give away his possessions. He says, we are going to be mobile. Go sell your company. Follow me. Now, before you leave this area, Torah tells you what your tithes should be like, what you're offering to the widow and the homeless, what your sidka by Torah should look like. Sell what you have, do your sidka, and then come follow me. Y'all done preach this thing that the man said, go sell all you got and then give it all away. That is not, that is not what he said. He said, sell all you got, give to the poor, give to the widows and the orphans fund like you supposed to in Sidka, and then come follow me. But that man asked the question, And when he asked the question, which was the smart thing to do, Yeshua gave him an answer. Well, how do you inherit eternal life? Keep the Torah. Bro, look at me. I did that. See how blessed I am? Look at everything I got. Yeah, he knew who he was. Yeshua knew the guy. He's like, hey, okay, cool. I got you. The people knew him. They were like, ooh. So it's like, okay, cool. We know you. Because otherwise the text would not say a rich young ruler. That means that everybody knows who the heck is asking this question. Yo, hey, oh, that's like I that's like some rich guy we got today of power. Y'all can name the top 5 people, women or men, who got money. And if they came into your church or they was at your revival or they came to your church or they came to your neighborhood and y'all was having a campaign and the preacher was up there preaching and then they asked the preacher a question, ain't nobody gonna have a problem with this world-known rich person asking a question in your little service. Can y'all understand the vibe now that was happening? So they're like, oh, that's like some of y'all, Tyler Perry asked the question. Some of y'all, Oprah Winfrey was out here and asked the question. Some of y'all, Deion Sanders asked the question. Some of y'all, Rodriguez asked the question. Or some of y'all, Elon Musk or Bill Gates or somebody of that caliber, Damian Dash or somebody, came and asked the question. TD Jakes came and asked the question in your little church. You ain't know they was in the audience. That's going to be noted. This rich young ruler, everybody knew, was a rich young ruler. And he's asking a question of this unknown person. He don't know who Yeshua is, but what Yeshua is talking about sure does have his attention. And he's like, yo, this makes sense. So what must I do? I've been keeping Torah. What must I do to inherit eternal life? I hear you, and I heard Yochanan talking about it before he died. What's this about? How do I get that? And he says, keep the Torah. Excuse me, sir. I know you're gonna go back to your service and teaching, but wait, I did keep the Torah. That's how I got to where I'm at. I did business right. I did it lawfully. I kept the feasts. I kept the Sabbath. I kept the Sidka. I kept the Torah, and that's why I'm favored among these people. Many of them as crooked as all get out, but I was pretty. I did. That's why I'm who I am right now. He says, okay, fine. Then you're ready to graduate. Awesome. Come and be like me now. Sell all you got because you don't need, foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head, though I'm the richest thing on the planet. Did y'all get that? Let me say it again. Yeshua told the rich young ruler, come on and be like me now. You're one who understands it. Sell all you got. Foxes have holes. Birds of the air have nests. But me and these guys I'm hanging with, we don't have nowhere to lay our heads, even though I'm the richest man on the planet. but 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 nobody understood that. All they could think of, this man worked hard. He did the Torah. Now he got to give away his stuff. See, that's why y'all Christians is wrong. He wanted him to give all his money away. That is not what he told that man to do. He explained to him, sell all you got, go do your Torah, go do your Sidka, go do your charity, go give to the poor, give to the motherless, give to the widows, get your tithing in, and come on, we out. You want to know how eternal life looks and what it's about? Come on. I ain't gonna be here but a couple years anyway. Come on. He would have been another disciple, but he couldn't part with his money. Though he loved the commandments of Torah Elohim, he ended up getting money by his compliance, but then making the money his God. Thus the phrase, you cannot serve Elohim and Mammon. Serving Elohim will always bring you what the Mammon God entices you with. Serving Elohim always gives you an actual residue of what Mammon makes you worship to worship Mammon. Serving and complying with Elohim always brings you self-sufficiency, money, and it's nothing. It's when you get so much of it, you think people's applause, people's praise of you. Oh, you so blessed. You so wonderful. And whatever you say, you like E.F. Hutton, they listening to. And that makes you pump you up, gas you up, hype you up, and now you think you somebody. How about you not be somebody and be somebody's? How about you be his? I'm glad to be somebody's, not just somebody's, but his. I don't want to think myself to be something that I am not. Is this making sense to y'all in Sabbath?
Amen.
So when he tells the rich ruler who asks the question, hey, here's what you do. Here's how you do it. Listen, I'm gonna take you to a whole nother level, Mr. Rich Ruler. Yeah. Look, listen, just come with me. Just sell all you got, tuck it in your backpack, come on with us. Did y'all know Peter was rich?
I did. I didn't know that.
You do know that Peter's family had a fishing company. Y'all know that Peter didn't leave his wife, but when he left to walk with Messiah, his wife was running the company. Let's get back to Torah. Messiah had enough rich people around him. They didn't need to do much. That alabaster box, that wasn't no big issue. You had Matthew, y'all, who was a tax collector. He had Lazarus, y'all. Do y'all know Lazarus? Do y'all realize how many wealthy people Messiah had walking with him every day who left their companies to come follow him but did not leave their wealth? Can I talk to y'all like y'all never been talked to before?
So,
Do y'all remember Lazarus when
yes,
he was up in the tree?
yes.
Look at Lazarus's claim to fame nobody paid attention to. Y'all thought he was just some guy Yeshua passed along at a bar. He said, Lazarus, come down out that tree. I came to see you. This day salvation is going to enter into your home.
Was that not Zacchaeus?
Thank you. My bad. I said Lazarus, didn't I? Yeah, I meant to say Zacchaeus. My bad. Not Lazarus. Not Lazarus. Thank y'all for catching me. My thoughts be running. My thoughts be running. But I just gave y'all. I don't know if y'all realize how much of the Bible we just went through. So Zacchaeus, he's up in the tree. Zacchaeus is up in the tree because one, he's short. Two, he's not well liked because he, like Matthew, is a tax collector. Your tax collectors were wealthy, guys, because, well, they told Rome how much they collected, and Rome trusted them. They let them do a little shady stuff. Whatever they kept, they kept. They overcharged, they overcharged. They got a vendetta, charge them more. Just bring me what Rome wants. So this is why Zacchaeus made the statement: if I've overcharged anybody, I've been faithful, Messiah. When he meets Messiah, he's basically saying, like the rich young ruler, I've been faithful. I have kept Torah. I'm not like these other tax collectors. Now, if I have, just so you know, right now, coming into my house, so you know, I have never done what the story of other tax collectors is. I honored Torah. I've properly measured out. I've properly taxed the people. And if anybody can come and say that I overcharged them, I will give them back 4 times. Anybody. I'll give them back 4 times their what they gave me, I'll give it back to them 4 times. If they can say I overcharged in taxes, I am not like them other people, and because I do this genre and it has that reputation, everybody thinks and treats us, me and Matthew, like them, and they don't like tax collectors. They don't like publicans. But I didn't do, and am not responsible for what other publicans have done. And people don't like me. That's why I'm up in the tree. But if you can come to my house and bring people with you, oh, that'd be so nice. Y'all never heard that story that way before, have y'all? So Zacchaeus, he's a rich ruler. Zacchaeus walked by, people get out the way. That's a tax collector. Treat that man right. he come around here and overtax us, and Rome gonna back him. If he brings the guard and says, hey, they owe this much, they ain't paying me, that you know that's wrong, Zacchaeus. The guard is gonna be like, what did he say? He's charging me wrong. We don't care what he say. Give him what we need. That's the reputation a publican had. Did y'all know that?
No, that's that detail.
So now does it make more sense why Zacchaeus said that? He's like, if I've taken from anybody more than the taxations allowed, I will restore unto them. So Zacchaeus he's hanging out with Yeshua in them. Y'all can laugh about this all day long, and I know this might not seem like it's Torah, but because it's Messiah, it is Torah. Watch this. Did y'all know Mary Magdalene was a wealthy chick? She was basically a madam.
That I know.
You don't just have an alabaster box, people. Why you think why you think Judas got mad? He's like, yo, bruh, you let her waste all of that oil. These are people hanging out with Yeshua every day, sleeping in fields and foxes having holes and birds having nests, and they ain't got nowhere to lay their head. They could go from any town they wanted to and get hotels for everybody. Do y'all realize how wealthy the camp of Yeshua was? They got y'all thinking and talking, oh, you got to be poor. No, poor in spirit. You ain't, if you borrow, if you're lending to nations, how the heck are you poor? Oh, I'm gonna be blessed of God, and then you talk about blessed in the city, blessed in the field. I'm blessed to lend and not to borrow. God said, my storage gonna be filled, my barn gonna be filled, my herds gonna be filled, and then you talk about I'm just so poor. I'm a lowly servant of the Lord. How the heck are you poor and you lending to nations? Come on, people, pick a side. I need y'all to pick a side. How are you gonna be broke and rich at the same time?
It would be hard.
Y'all not gonna talk to me now. Okay. Because you know what? I've been talking to y'all. So that question made me really think earlier. I don't, I do and share my study times and biblical thoughts with you all. They come from a rich place, which is why you probably keep listening because Pastor Spencer, is she on? What's that phrase Pastor Spencer uses? She on here today? She left. Oh, there she goes. Say it again, Pastor Spencer. Okay, y'all couldn't hear her on Facebook. I know because she in her hometown voice. Say it again.
truth speaks, wisdom listens.
So what she said was, when truth speaks, wisdom listens. So when you are in a space and you are a truth seeker and you're seeking for wisdom, and you are trying to manifest that, and you're beyond now collecting just good information and good knowledge, you're now trying to attain truth to that knowledge and wisdom from that knowledge. When truth speaks, when you hear truth speaking, wisdom will sit and listen. And that's what that rich young ruler did when he was sitting there listening at truth speaking. The rich young ruler clearly is a wise person. Would we all agree?
Yes.
All right. Me and Apostle Walker agree. Okay. So the rich young ruler was a wise guy. But when he heard truth, you know that rich young ruler ain't have time to be sitting there listening to anybody just talking any kind of way and spitting any kind of way and just chatting up any old kind of thing. Nah, that ain't what he did. He got to make money. He about his money. He's about the next thing. He just happened to stop. He stopped because truth was speaking. And when truth is speaking, wisdom just sits and listens. And that's why I think some people tune into broadcasts such as ours, because we're not claiming to be wise, we're claiming to be truthful. And we're producing the truth on the matter, vettable. And wise people listen to you. You know truth when you hear it. Y'all knew she was lying when she was dating y'all. Y'all knew he was lying when he was dating y'all. Y'all was just hoping it was true. This is different. Apostle, I thought he was telling me all these sweet nothings. I thought it was she was telling me all these sweet promises. I thought it wasn't. No, you was hoping what they would say was true. The word is true. It's not a hoping thing. Oh gosh, I'm sorry.
It's true.
So to that question again that started all of this, you know, do I learn from you all? Absolutely. I learn from how you respond or don't respond. I learn from when you ask them questions and when you don't ask a question. I don't think you know that silence really speaks louder than most people know. Silence can be at a decibel that can blow your ears, your eardrums. I mean, it really can. So at the end of the day, you have to be conscious of what's really going on. When you are listening and you hear truth and you have a question, you must ask that question. My apostle T.R. Malone, I learned so much from her. And whenever I would listen to her speak, if there was anything I did not know, I did not understand, she would, like I encourage, she would encourage, like I encourage you all, to ask questions. Because even though you're listening to my presentation, that's just a doorway into another element of wealth of knowledge that you can tap into when you ask a question. Don't feel like, oh, I can't stop it. Yes, you can. Put your, that's what we tell you. Say your name, raise your hand, ask the question. You ask the question, you get the answer. There is no dumb question. I was intimidated. You can't be intimidated when someone loves you. If you're intimidated by your dad, that's a problem. If you're intimidated by your mom, that's a problem. If you're intimidated by your teacher, That's a problem. That's not a good person. If they are intimidating you. Now, if you're just intimidated because you had PTSDs of being intimidated by people who you looked up to, and now you may find yourself looking up to this person, those PTSDs can't help you with, but you're encouraged to ask questions in our platforms. And we will take you to the answers. We will find the answers together. And that's how we all grow. Now, that's a way I learn more too. When you ask a question, and there is no dumb question, the dumbness of the question world is when you don't ask the question and you know you got one. Ask the question. You don't ask the question, I don't know what you're thinking. And if you can tell me what you're thinking, I can help you, not control you, not demean you or talk condescending to you, but hey, great question. Let's go find it. This is what I know off rip, but the question opens this door. Let's go open this package up. Let's go do that. Let's see what can be done in that respect. These are the things we need to understand about what we do in here. So when you comprehend this and you embrace this and you realize this, everything that is in Elohim, everything that comes from what Elohim would have you and I to know, requires us to seek out his truth. It's really that simple. It's really that plain. That's what it does. That's what he does. That's how he does it for us. And these are the truths of everything that goes on to that end. Now, walking without looking down is dangerous because you can hurt yourself, especially if you don't know that the road is paved or it's stable. It's the same level of danger when you sit in a room, have a question, and not ask it. How can you go forward? You don't ask a question to something that you have no clarity on. Your next digestion of what else is coming forward, it's it's not going to be absorbed right. It's as dangerous as walking without looking down from time to time to make sure your footing is sure. So with us where we are, ask your questions. Anytime you're in a room with me and it's not a Sunday, or if it's a Bible study, if it's a Sabbath study like this, if it's a Bible book club, we so crave you ask questions. I am so glad my apostle made me ask questions. What's your question, son? I see the question all over your face. Okay, here you go. And then, well, I'm not going to stop because I don't want to take up the room. She says, no, I can't help this space unless I get the questions from the individuals in this space. And if y'all think we're deep with some of the stuff we talk about now, wait till you start asking questions. And then we take you to the Bible to answer those questions. That's the fun part of it. So don't ever feel intimidated. Always ask your questions. And I know that people, other spaces, and they're like, what are you doing asking questions? Especially in the church world. Because they're like, yeah, well, I'm teaching this. Don't ask me questions about that. No. That's what Messiah did. Messiah never had a script when he was on the planet. He knew the script. He didn't go and say, okay, we're going to teach on this today. He would walk and people would ask questions. Boom, that opened up a whole new doorway. Somebody else says, oh, I didn't know that. Well, what about this? Boom, that opened up a whole new doorway. Next thing you know, 10 more people gather. Next thing you know, 20 more people gather. Well, what about this? Well, we answered that earlier, but to your specific question, because you're different than the person who asked it 20 minutes ago, da 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 da, boom, five other people walk by, they hear, well, wait a minute, well, I thought this. Well, boom, here's what the writ says. And that's how this ministry is. You got to ask those questions. I can set up stuff and teach on everything and try to prove 18 ways to know God and 17 ways to get a blessing and 47 982 hours in fasting and prayer will make you thin. Um, we can help you if you give us what you need. What's your questions? Simone, I'm so glad you picked that up. I didn't hear nobody on Clubhouse, but Simone picked it up on Facebook. Can anybody read Facebook and tell me what Simone said at the end? Moderators, any moderators on Facebook? Veronica, go. I can't hear y'all. Go.
She said, wow, Messiah was the script.
I was waiting for somebody to catch that. Messiah didn't have a script. He was the script. It didn't matter what you asked him. He had the answer.
Yep, that's true.
You understand?
Yep.
It didn't matter what you asked him. He didn't have to have something written out like the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Levite, the Gadol Kohanim. The Kohanim had to do. He was the script. He was like, just ask me any question. I'll tell you. You see me, you see the Father.
He was the word.
He was the living word. That's it, Elder Apostle. That's it. Yeah. So when we're together, guys, I do this not for likes. If if anybody ever knew us in ministry, when I first started in Orlando, jeez, man, time has flown. When I first started in Orlando, actually, it started when I was in street ministry because I was an ex addict, I was an ex dope boy, I was a ex uh, you know, alcoholic as diagnosed. I was ex, and I became an ex to all those things. Not a recovering addict, not a recovering, whatever. I am delivered from that, right? And I got delivered from that by the word. No preacher laid hands on me. I was not in a Bible study session when I got saved. I was in a drug rehab and cussed everybody in the drug rehab out 10 minutes before. There wasn't no Jesus in there saving me. Y'all don't like this. I love Yeshua. Give my life for him. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. The word saved me. The word delivered me. He sent his word and healed my land. No more need for cocaine. No more need for cigarettes. No more need for drink. No more need for wild, crazy, illicit sex. No more need for power. No more need for money. I now knew by the word. I said, Elohim, if you're real, help me. That's all I said. God, if you're real, help me. And from that day, I got an image of my apostle from my childhood, and I was just pushed back a song, you know, for Andre Crouch, an image of my apostle. Next thing I know, 7 days later, I had been in the Word so much. I was reading the Bible from Genesis all the way through. And as I was reading it, and then I'm jumping into the New Testament, I'm reading about Yeshua and John, and then certain preachers would come in and confirm this. Within 7 days, I was telling the people, I'm free. I get it now. I don't need drugs anymore. I'm good. I'm gonna stay here for the 90 days though, but I think I finally get it. There people got tired of me talking about Elohim. They got me tired of God at the time. Talking about Jesus and talking about the fact that he sent it. My thing was he sent his word and healed their land. I had Muslims in there, I had atheists in there, I had rich people in there, I had poor people in there, I had celebrities in there, and they're all struggling, talking God of their understanding. Like, well, if that's the case, I understand my God now, and I was telling everybody what I knew. And I realized I was invading their space because they wasn't ready for the God I understood. Though it was established by a Christian organization, they received every denomination and every, faith system and every person is just money for them. But I got it. I really got it. And I would talk about getting it. I mean, I felt it was the right thing to do since they put me on the hot seat, lied to me, made me tell them all my business. And now when I told them all my business, you know what's funny? When I told them all my business about, you know, my daddy issues, my mommy issues, and because when you go to rehab, they're trying to get you to talk about what made you drink, what made you go to your drug of choice, what made you do this, what made you do that, and your PTSDs and your childhood traumas, your rape, your molestation, whatever happened to you, right? And they try to dredge that stuff up. Now, as long as I was telling them that information, man, it was all ears and they all eyes, and then they would use that literally in a technique by the system to put you on a hot seat 5 days later after everybody they could get to take your information got your information, and then to help you get on the proper road to recovery, they would all jump you by weaponizing against you your confessions to them. So now the way I felt about my dad, the way I felt about my mom, the way I felt about, people who mistreated me, the way I felt about the abuser in my life who molested me, all this stuff, y'all gonna turn that on me like that's supposed to help me? Man, I will kill you. Who are you talking to? And when I tell you all 15 of them people in that room, four of them were my roommates, my bunk mates. They did not come in that bunk for 2 days. They found them people a place to go. Because the way I cussed them out in that room, I'm a dope boy. You don't snitch. You don't turn around and throw stuff in my. What are you doing? And the anger in me, and I'm not proud of my anger back in the day. I'm a little bit like Moshe, and so I I I literally I cussed them out. I mean, I cussed like Richard Pryor, Dolomite, Eddie Murphy, Red Fox, anybody who cussed. I channeled them that day because there was 15 people and just me and Richard Pryor album wasn't gonna do it. Use every cuss word I knew, every person I knew. Y'all don't want to talk to me today. It's okay. So somebody grab the author's question so I can answer it. So I laid them all out, and they were like, "Look," they told security. They said, "Listen, if he ain't got to go home, but I think," and the guy was like, I think you can't use that technique on everybody. I'm like, yeah, too late to figure that out. And the people that was in there felt bad because they were put up to do it. Yeah, talk to people. And they didn't do any more hot seats while I was there to nobody. Because they realized, oh, so we were talking to them, and then y'all set us up as counselors to see us hear them respond to your initial questions, and then we're allowed to jump on them. And so basically, you allowed us to judge somebody who wasn't coming here for judgment; they were coming here for help. And then they all jumped him, and it worked for some people. Oh, I get it. Oh, it's me. It's just me. It isn't you. It's me. I didn't have that issue. You asked me about how I felt about my dad. I told you, I'm an open book. But man, don't turn that back at me. So I snapped professionally. stood up straight, didn't threaten nobody with my hands, just told them flat out the way y'all spoke to me and act like y'all know my life. I cussed you out like you knew my life. Clearly, you ain't know me. So when I got done, I went into the room. I went into the bunk. It was four of us, three other guys. They couldn't even they just found another place to bunk. They slept in the common areas for 2 days. So after 7 days, I calmed down and I was calm, but I didn't appreciate what they did. And I thought that was foul. And I paid too much money to be at that institution for that to happen. And I didn't know that's how y'all got down. And so after that, 7 days, I figured it out. I had a moment, an epiphany, if you will. And so when I realized that it was the word that saved me, he sent his word to heal my land. That was the phrase I kept using. And then what happened next was 7 days I talked about that. And they were like, well, now we're tired of hearing you talk. Well, wait a minute. Y'all wanted me to talk to y'all before. Now you don't want me to talk to y'all? So y'all just want to know my personal business. Well, here's my personal business. I have found salvation and I am no longer an addict. I won't be an addict when I leave here. I'm glad to be here. This time to reset, drink in this word. Thanks for the teachers and preachers you're bringing in. I love it. And Yeshua, how much Jesus the Christ is the goal I'm looking for. I want to be like him. I'm going to know this word to where it fills me, and that's what fills up inside of me. No more sex, no more drugs, no more drink, no more contraband, no more need for money, no more power clout chasing. I'm good. Well, that's not how this works. I think it was the fact that I said I'm an ex addict now. Because the phraseology is you got to be a recovering addict. That means you have to keep coming back here for rooms and for treatment. And that's how you churn money. Again, stop taking the people's money. I'm done. I'm Gucci. I never went back to drugs, y'all. From that day, I never turned back another day. I even worked for a beer company during that time. And I was a major contributor to selling Heineken. And when the Heineken reps came in from Germany to meet up with our union and our other people that we would serve in the casinos, I had to sit at that meeting. And I was conflicted at that meeting. And I had to drink a beer, a brand beer, because I am the liaisons here in the States. And that's what we do. That's what we've always done. And I couldn't say I don't drink no more, though I didn't. Man, I just knew I was going to default and fall back into relapse. I prayed. I said, God, you know I got to do this. I took the beer. I drank just a sip of it, and the glass sat there. You know, you baby it, and I just let it sit there. Didn't relapse. Didn't have a desire or craving to have any more, or smoke a joint, or snort a cocaine, or smoke a cigarette. I knew the word now was in me, and what was wrong with me was now fixed. Problem was I confessed that with my mouth, and I believed that in my heart. Salvation sits at my door to this day. I've never gone back, ever, not even to play with it. And the point to that was when you know the word, you don't have to ask people how they feel about it. They have to tell you, well, here's how I feel about it. My job is to show it to you. So from that point on, they kicked me out after they put me on a hot seat for those times. For 7 days, they took my information, put me on the hot seat. The next 7 days, I told them what I learned and what I got from that experience that y'all gave me. What the enemy meant for evil, Elohim meant for good. And that I'm X. I'm not a recovering, I'm X. I'm done. It's over. I'm done with this. I ain't got to worry about it. And they didn't want to hear that. I'm like, so y'all wanted me for 7 days to tell y'all about myself. Now I'm telling y'all about myself now. Y'all don't want to hear that. They actually, the administration kicked me out from a Christian program for preaching Jesus. And they were so petty, they wouldn't give me a sobriety coin when they put me out after 14 days. I paid for 90 days. They wouldn't give me the coin. I was so mad. I can't. Funny thing was, a year later, I became the most requested speaker to go back to that place and speak to the people a year later. And then they introduced me to Ranch Hope for Boys, uh, uh, a whole bunch of places, drug rehabilitation centers, Dream Center. Oh, I done spoke at all these different places now, but when I was going through it, they wouldn't give me my coin. Still ain't gave me my coin. Don't want it because I'm an ex, not a recovering. It was the word that healed my land. Messiah was not writing stuff down, he was written and sent down. He was the writing and he was sent down into the earth to show us how to live what they're writing down. So, whenever you're in space with me, I'm talking from only what I know, not from what I got notes on. I'm studying them from what I live. And I learn from you, and you learn from me, and we learn together. But the learning is when we take our questions, our ideas, our thoughts, and we filter them through the word. Now you're more than likely to get me to learn something. Because every time I open the word, I learn something new. And if your question stemmed me to go into the writ, then I'm learning from you. You may be learning from it, but I'm learning from you asking that question because I'm going to go search the writ out, and I'm looking for more anyway. You're looking for that one answer to your question, but for me, I'm looking for the answer to the question to show you, and then I'm looking for what else is in there. So it's a constant way of recycling and learning and growing together. Was that a spiel? Did that make sense to y'all, or did y'all?
Makes perfect sense.
All right, I heard a young person I heard a young person scream earlier. I don't know who it was, where they were. Something about the fathers, moderators. Do y'all know who that was? Where that's coming from?
Yes, sir. Makes sense.
Thank you. Do y'all know who that moderators? Do y'all know where that? I heard a child's voice much earlier.
I don't know who the child was, but they wanted to know who was the fathers.
Who was the fathers? Okay, is that child still on?
Apostle, I think it was somebody that he the last name is Evans. Got a Bible they have on that icon.
Okay, are they still here?
Yes.
Who? Oh, hi.
There you go.
What was your question, beloved?
Who is father? You were talking about the fathers and the father.
Yes.
She wanted to know who was the fathers.
Great question. So, who are the fathers? Okay, so you have the priests who Yahweh gave the Torah to so they could continually show the people how to serve God the Father, who is Yahweh. So the Father is God the Father, but the fathers, plural, they are the patriarchs of Israel. And more specifically, they are, by the time we get the Torah, they are the patriarchs of note, meaning they are now responsible for the Torah. So the Pharisees and the Sanhedrin that Moshe established, they were responsible for helping everybody in the camp to know what the word, the Torah, the law, the instructions were about. So if you had a question, you came to the temple, the tabernacle, they would give you your question, answer it by the Torah, help you to learn it, understand it, yada yada. Prepare you for the feasts, prepare you for Sabbath, um, prepare you for proper business, prepare you for Sidka, prepare you for your tithing, prepare you for your offerings, show you how it's supposed to be done. That was the job of the Levite. That was the job of the tabernacle responsibilities for the Levites. Those now are what we call the fathers. They become the sages of that writ. That means that they are the ones who learned it, knowing it, understanding it, and they're able to communicate it to their people, to this community, and they become those that are renowned. They become those that are looked up to when it comes to knowing about God, knowing about Yahweh, knowing about Elohim. So they were considered fathers, multiple heads of tribes. Um, there are Levites, and then there are ushers, there are porters, there are priests, there are the high priest. So the priests who are eligible to be potentially the high priest, they are fathers of the faith, and they are fathers of the group of people connected to this faith, and they study the writ so much so that they're the go-to whenever there is a question. That's how they got the title fathers. However, what the sages, fathers, did, where they began to um, write it out as a substitutionary way of honoring the law, honoring the Torah. However, it made it convenient for the people who complained. They would run to the sages, and the sages would say, "Okay, well, you can do it this way." So, you have, to her question, I want to answer it right, Ms. Evans. The question is, who are the fathers? Those sages, humans in Israel who were responsible for Torah interpretation were considered the fathers. They then wrote the law out based on complaint, based on argument, based on conversations in the community, and they says, okay, if you say it's too hard this way, let's do it that way. This should still please the Father. So your question says, can this be done? We're going to go back and search. Our lawyers, our scribes, myself, we come back, we tell you, okay, if that's too hard for you, you are allowed to do it this way. We, the sages, say it's legal and it should still please the Father. Scribes write this down as a subsection to that commandment. Anybody in this situation, this will suffice as being compliant. That's what the fathers ultimately ended up being responsible for doing, and that's how you got the halakha, the Mishnah, and the Talmud. Now, somebody said, Apostle, that's just a baby answering that question. That's going to be the smartest baby within certain groups. Because if the babies ask questions, I'm going to answer them all day, and I'm going to answer them like I'm talking to a full grown doctorate, master's degree individual. So, do you have any more questions, beloved, about that? Do you know what a father's is now?
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you asking that question. All right. Some of y'all should thank her for her question. Sitting there acting like, well, I knew all of that, Mr. Apostle,
Thank
man.
you, princess.
Thank you. There you go. Let her know she's valued. All right. So, what's next, Maz? Who's next on cue? What I got?
Montgomery.
Montgomery, go.
Shabbat Shalom.
Come on, I can't hear you.
You can't hear
Go
me.
ahead. Yeah. All right.
Shabbat Shalom.
All right. I can hear you now.
Okay. In Bereshit, Elohim said, "Man is like us, knowing good and evil." Elohim is one so sound, like he was talking to himself. Was he making a point to Moshe? And that's right. I mean, the author.
Okay. There's a question from the author. You said in the book of Bereshit, you got. I got to go slow because the sun has me. I cannot see my board. So his question is,
The first part of it is Elohim said, "Man is like us,
what verse?
knowing good and evil."
What verse we at? Genesis.
That's
That's Genesis.
yeah.
That's
Oh yeah.
Genesis
Yes, I'm
3.
sorry. Yes.
That's Bereshit 3. It's got to be verse 22. All right. So give me the
This
question again. Go.
okay. Elohim said, "Man is like us, knowing good and evil." Elohim is one so sound, like he was talking to himself. Was he making a point to Moshe?
I got lost in that question. One more time.
Elohim is man. I mean, Elohim said, "Man is like us, knowing good and evil."
Pause. Now go. Continue.
Elohim is one so sound,
Stop.
like
That's where I'm lost. What? I don't understand that. Elohim what?
it says, is one so sound, like he was talking to himself.
Elohim. Yeah, I think that's where the question's lost for me. The author, resubmit your question. I'm not understanding that.
I'll help you, Prophet Leslie. The question is, in Bereshit, Elohim said, "Man is like us, knowing good and evil." Elohim is one. So, sounds like he was talking to himself.
Okay.
Was making a point to Moshe.
Okay. Good. You still got to submit your question again because I, is he making a point to Moshe? Absolutely, he is. That's why Moshe is being the story is being told. The thing is, what do you want to know there? Is he making a point? Do me a favor. Good. The author, talk to me, bro.
Yes, sir. When I was looking at that, when I was reading that and looking at that thing about that question, I said Elohim was pretty much expressing to himself about the attributes, but was he making a point to Moshe when Moshe actually wrote this when he was in the mountain with Elohim at that particular time?
Okay, so let's do this. I'm gonna read the text in content. I'm gonna read the content. I'm gonna read the content in context, and then I want you to tell me what you think what you think he's doing, so we can find. Because I can go 5 different ways with this. I want to know where you are to keep it in a vein that benefits your question and others can learn as well. So everybody, go to Bereshit chapter 3. We'll go down to verse number. Uh, I'm gonna go to verse 17, so we can put this in context. Is that all right? Verse 17, Genesis, Bereshit, chapter 3, 17 says, "And unto Adam he said, because you have hearkened unto the voice of your wife, and you have eaten of the tree which I commanded you not to, cursed is the ground for your sake. Therefore in sorrow shall you eat of the ground all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles shall also bring forth to you, and you shall eat the herb of the field. In the sweat of your brow shalt thou eat bread till you return unto the ground. For out of the ground you were taken, for dust you are, unto dust you're going to return." Verse 20. Adam called his wife's name Ishai, because she was mother of all living. Unto Adam also and to his wife did Yahweh our Elohim make coats of skins, and then he clothed them. Verse 22. And Yahweh our Elohim said, "Behold, Pay attention. And man, the man, notice what he said. The man, he didn't say Adam, he didn't say Ishai. He said the human being is become as one of us to know good and evil. And now, lest he puts forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat, thereby live forever. Therefore, Yahweh or Elohim sent him forth from the garden to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he was placed at the east of the Garden of Eden. He put cherubims there and flaming swords, which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. All right. So, was he making a point? What do you mean when you say, was he making a point to Adam? He is telling Adam that, yes, of course he spoke to himself. I mean, we are made in his image, right? So when I speak to myself, and it happens frequently, I'm talking to me, myself, and I. All three of us are having a real good conversation, and it's none of y'all business. Stay out. Otherwise, we gonna jump you. Okay.
Okay, I get it now.
We gonna jump you, and this ain't the riverboat. Listen. So that wasn't funny. Y'all not gonna. Nobody's me and Arthur gonna laugh. See, y'all. I don't know. I be giving y'all good material. I better not see on nobody's meme neither. I'll be having a conversation with me, making a meme. I want something. Who good at making me? I want to make a good meme. When I'm talking to me, myself, and I, you stay out of it before we jump you.
They probably still mesmerized with your background.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, they can't think. Okay, all right. So make that a meme for me. When I'm having to tell you, when I'm talking to myself, me, myself, and I. When I'm talking to me, myself, and I, you bystander, stay out of it, or else we gonna jump you. I like that. Okay. All right. So, yes, that was the point he was making to, he's making several points to Moshe. The fact that Moshe is actually being given this, fed this by Elohim to write it down. Of course, there's a storyline there. Now, I find something interesting in the text. I'm hoping that more of you guys are reading the text again, particularly from verses 21 to 24. And do y'all see anything else in there? Now, while I ask y'all that question, I'm going to go back to Brother the author's question and talk about what he has here, and that is man has become as one as us, right? Man has become as one of us. Now, the author's question is because of the statement, man has become as one of us. Watch verse 22. And Yahweh our Elohim said, behold, the man is become like one of us. Huh? Elohim is one, right? But Elohim has attributes. Yahweh the thinker, Adonai the speaker, Ruach HaKodesh the performer. I repeat, Elohim is one, yet he is attributes. Yahweh the thinker, Adonai the speaker, Ruach HaKodesh the performer of the spoken word. So now man has become like one of us. Man now believes he understands good and he understands evil. So he thinks he's like Yah, a thinker. The author, does that help? The author?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That helps. That helps.
So he thinks he's like the attribute of Yahweh, where he's the thinker, because now he knows good from evil. Now he knows good from evil. Now he knows, has knowledge of good from evil. He has something more to think about. Elohim gave him all good to think about prior to this. Now he done added to his cachet good and evil outside of the good Elohim gave him. Now he's thinking in his own way, and he thinks he can operate like one of them. Notice Elohim did not say like us, because just because you think it don't mean it's going to happen. You got it?
Got it.
Just because you think it don't mean it's going to happen. Just because you think about it doesn't mean you're going to have the words to back it up. That's like I talked to a lot of different people. It's like, look, man, y'all done let this. I think it was Mike Tyson that made the statement. I hate to quote on this day, but Mike was like, the internet done let so many people think they tough behind that screen. You know what I mean? It let you. It gives you this like this artificial courage. You know how liquor give people liquid courage. The internet has given people artificial intelligence, i.e., artificial courage. Uh, and you think you tougher than you are. You know what I mean? So for this, as an analogy, uh, Elohim is like, all right, man that went down there and they done ate what I told them not to eat yet. Now they think they can think like me. Now they think they're like Yahweh. They think they're like one of us. They think they can create. They think they can uh, think through everything. That's where the one of us comes from, the author.
Got it. Thanks a lot.
Anybody else got a thought on that?
Minister Walker.
Hey, Apostle, what you got?
I was also thinking about the as one as they are unified, don't know how to handle it, but they're thinking like us. It's like the Trinity because that we were created in His image, and when they became knowledgeable about the difference between good and evil, it kind of completed the cycle. It's like, okay, they think they know what they. It's like a kid that thinks that they're an adult.
Yeah, yeah, that part.
Girls walk around in their mom's heels or whatever. Um, they have what they need in order to do these things, but they don't know how to handle it.
They know how to act a role,
Yeah,
but they don't know the responsibilities of the actions
exactly.
in the
Yeah.
real world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at home is play. You play house at home. You play nurse at home. You know, some of y'all having flashbacks. Come on back. Come on back, y'all. Y'all having flashbacks. Come on back. I heard you. So you can put on the heels. You can put on daddy's shoes. You can grab daddy's golf clubs. You can grab mommy's makeup. You know, and you can play in the house. You think you know, but there are ramifications and there are consequences for certain actions in that genre if you don't have the understanding.
Correct. Yes.
So man is now thinking he know good from evil. He thinks he's like God,
Mm-hmm.
but he ain't the word, and he don't know how to perform what he thought. And though he is like Elohim, me, myself, and I, created in his image, in his likeness, he still has to understand what that looks like and what that's about. Make sense? Good ad, Apostle. Anybody else have a thought on that? Anybody reading 21 through 24? Anybody see anything in there interesting in the Torah? Bereshit chapter 3, verses 21 through 24. Anybody see anything of interest in there? Come on, talk to me. Any more questions?
Yeah, yeah. I want to add to that.
Who is you?
Oh, this is Brother Eugene, sir.
Oh, say your name, sir. I'm sorry. Say my name. Say your name. Go ahead. What you got?
Right, right. Well, I like what was said thus far. So to piggyback off that, it
Hold up,
makes me
hold up,
think
hold up, hold
about
up, hold up, hold up, hold up. We can't do pork on the Sabbath day. We not piggybacking them. You can dovetail. You can. We ain't doing no pork up here. Yeah, take that pig
okay.
somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah. So I keep thinking about how when a child disobeys, and then so the parents are so fed up with the child, the parents kick them out. Oh, you think you know everything? So you got this part? Get out. And it's like God kicked Adam and Eve out and basically threw them themselves to learn because of their disobedience. That's what I get out of it.
Okay, I can rock a little bit with that. It's to throw them out to fend for themselves. That part is where we're gonna make some enhancement to. You good with that?
Of course.
Perfect. Somebody make sure you get Eric Felton's questions. I can't see it. I'm too far away from it, and I'm outside, so I got to glare. Somebody make sure we get Eric Felton's question, please. And Eric, we're gonna come to you in a second. I can't see it, but I see you got something up there. So, brother Eugene, real talk. That's a great statement. Let's go, y'all, to verse 21. Let's read this. Unto Adam also he did his wife. Unto Adam also and to his wife did Yahweh make coats of skin. Verse 22. Yahweh our Elohim then said, behold, the man, the human being, has become as one of us, to know good and evil. That's clearly indicting the Yahweh attribute. And now, lest he put forth his hand and then take of the tree of life and eat, that joker gonna live forever. Therefore, Yahweh our Elohim sent him forth from the Garden of Eden. Watch this, y'all. Mind blow right here. I'm gonna see if y'all picked up on it. To till the ground from whence he was taken. We're gonna come back and see if y'all got that. So he drove man out. He then placed man. Who was that? I didn't hear your name. Say it again. All right. So verse number 23 says, therefore Yahweh our Elohim sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to go till the land where he was taken from. Verse 24, so he drove out the man. He then placed the man at the east of the Garden of Eden. Pardon me. He placed at the east of the garden cherubims and a flaming sword, which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. Now, y'all, this gets good. This gets hot. This gets thorough. There's so much in them two verses right there. Let's see if we can pick them all out. Y'all ready? All right. So, Brother Eugene, to your point, did he throw them out with reckless abandon and make them fend for themselves? Sort of, kind of like a little bit, no. Just messing with you, bro. So here's what you got to understand. He doesn't make them fend for themselves, but he does say, since you got this knowledge of good and evil, use now what you know. Notice, he kicked them out. He drove them out of the garden. His concern was that they did not eat the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Because if they eat the tree of the knowledge of good, pardon me, I repent. I said that wrong, thinking too fast. Here is what he said. He drove them out of the garden. His concern was that they would not eat that they would eat the tree of life after having eaten the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So he does not want them eating the tree of life because they would live forever with that knowledge of good and evil in their head rather than the knowledge of the good Yahweh in their soul as the anchor. He doesn't want them living in this condition at this point forever. So he puts them out of the garden before they can go back to the tree of life and eat of it. Now, just as a disclaimer, I believe that they ate of that tree of life before. I do. I believe they ate of it. They ate of all the trees. He said you can eat of all the trees, but that tree over there, don't do it. I don't know how long they were in the garden before this failure took place. I don't know how much of the trees they got to eat, but the tree of the knowledge of good and evil would not have been a tree of the knowledge of life, rather, the tree of life, the tree of life, the tree of life, rather, would not have been a tree they just ate one time of and then it just sat there forever, right? Everybody, you eat of that tree like you eat of an orange, an apple, banana tree. Once you get Elohim introducing you to the tree of knowledge of good and evil, then you can go back and eat it because you now have you have a premise. You have a foundation. Uh, uh, there is a what's that word I want to use? A precedent. Thank you. There is a precedent for now eating that tree. However, this is where it gets really interesting and fun. You got to make sure you realize that the trees were to be eaten of in perpetuity. So once man ate that knowledge of good and evil, Yahweh said they can't have life. No, no, they can't have life. They cannot live that way forever. It's not going to be a good situation. Can't have it. Can't have it. Can't let it happen. So he drives them out before they get to it. And then, watch this. He drives them out. He then puts cherubims, guardians. When y'all understand, we talk about cherubims and seraphims, and we talk about angels, you need to know that they all have a rank. Some of them are warriors. Cherubims are defenders, they are protectors. Seraphims are something different, but the cherubs, they defend all things Elohim. I'm gonna tell y'all why this is important on another service. When he then cuts off the east end, he made a garden in the east. He put man in it, gave man full access to the garden, told man to till the ground, put him in the garden to till the garden. He then, man messes up, drives man out of the garden, and then Yahweh puts a guard, cherubs, the baddest angels you got. These are defending angels. He put the cherubs on the east guard of the garden because eastward is in that element of getting into Elohim, right? Now watch. He puts the cherubs there, and then he puts a flaming sword. Now I talked to y'all earlier about the fact that Yeshua didn't come to bring shalom. He came to bring a sword, didn't he? Is this clicking yet? Did anybody?
I got that.
Did anybody get it now? What sword you think he was bringing, y'all? That's cute. That's good. It is the truth. That's what it's about. But do you see a sword in this text? I see a sword in the text. It's right there in verse 24. I don't know why y'all ain't said nothing, but it's right there. And a flaming sword, which he turned every way to keep the way of the to keep the way to keep the way of the tree of life. The way of the tree of life. Y'all gonna get this in a minute. To keep the way of the tree of life. The sword is there. So when Yeshua came to keep the way of Elohim, he brought this sword with him. See, if Adam would have succumbed to this sword, when he went to get that tree, if he would have died to eat the tree of life, then this would be a different conversation. But Adam doesn't die. Yahweh puts the sword there to keep man from going. Because if man ain't ready to die for that fruit, you can't have it.
You gotta come back. Say it again.
Y'all not gonna talk to me. See, the sword is there to keep the way of the tree of life. Because now y'all got the tree of knowledge of good and evil. In order to eat the tree of life again, you got to die to what you just learned in the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So if you want this tree of life, you got to die. Now, if you come through this sword, then you're worthy of eating the tree of life. I got to keep going. Y'all not ready. So you put them in, put them in queue. Put them in queue. Yes. So when you understand this, Yeshua said, I didn't come to bring shalom. That's already on the earth. I came to bring a sword. Y'all think these swords are connected?
Yes.
Yeah. Because this sword came to this sword came to keep the way of life. What did Yeshua say he was when he was on the earth? I am the Oh, okay. Okay. I sound like I got some people out there.
Okay.
I'm not gonna mess with y'all too long. I'm gonna drink my water.
Minute to soak in this thing. That's pretty good.
So when you understand what he's looking to have done and what he let y'all see all this stuff. This goes back to Brother DeArthur Grice's question. That's why I told DeArthur, I'm like, there's so much in this. But listen, what lesson would you think he was trying to teach them? Because now he's giving Moshe the Torah. Why is the Torah given? So they can keep the way of life. Y'all gonna get it in a minute. Hold up. 1,000. 1,000. No? Okay. All right. So Moshe is getting the Torah. What's the purpose of the Torah? To keep the way of the life Elohim wants on the earth. It's the governance, right? Now, what does Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12 say? We read it earlier. The word of Elohim is powerful, it's quick, it's powerful, it's sharper than any two-edged sword. You think this flaming sword is sharper than any other two-edged sword? I'ma say yeah.
Yes. 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 Okay.
Yeah, there we go. And what does this sword do? It divides soul from spirit. The man, look at what he said, the author. The man has now become like one of us. So now I got to cut that spirit of evil off of you so your soul that I created before you drunk the evil in can now live and be worthy of the tree of life. Y'all gonna get this in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yes. Yes.
All right. All right. So, Brother Gene, does that help you a little bit?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. Let me end it with this, please, because what you just said was very helpful. And I just want to say that you just threw one of your greater points about there are no dumb questions. Because what I said was that that he kicked them out to fend for themselves, and I could have took that someplace else, and perhaps someone else could have. Meaning, man, he just told me that that wasn't it, and felt like more discouraged. But you prove your point, at least to me, right? There are no dumb questions, and more questions leads to more knowledge. Thank you very much.
And more unveiling of his truth and stuff we did not consider. And people who would get offended that the question they presented was actually decomposed and recomposed means that they only wanted to see it the way they presented it. You wasn't asking a question to learn if you got mad when your learning inquiry got decommissioned and then re put together so we could all learn from it. If you ever get you ask a teacher a question and they say no, that ain't it. Well, who they think they is? That's the wrong spirit. You never came to learn.
Okay.
And that's to your compliment. But that's to anybody else. Because if you just did that so you can be heard, and oh, they said I'm wrong, like they always right. No, we look, I get what you're saying, but here's what the word says. And it wasn't that Adam could be left to his own. Adam isn't left to his own. Adam's now left to evil. Woohoo! Adam is not kicked out and left to his own. He's left to evil. Evil now guides him. Adam was a soul. Either good's going to guide him or evil's going to guide him. He doesn't kick him out and leave him to fend for himself. He now has knowledge in a way that he should not have received knowledge. And now that he's made that choice, you got to suffer those consequences. That's why the wage of sin is death, but the gift of Elohim is eternal life through Yeshua HaMashiach, who is the Word, right? So all of this was being told back in the day. So it goes back, your question leads back to Brother Grice's question of was Yahweh trying to tell him something? Man has become like me. He thinks he can think himself through problems. He think he knows. He think now he read the right book. He thinks he can think like Yahweh, and now he's gonna have to deal with that. And I can't let him touch the tree of life in the event that he continues to live through all the horrible mistakes he's about to make and not see the consequences because he can just live and get through it. Are y'all having fun? I feel like I'm Yahweh be praised. All right, who's next on cue? Thank you, Brother Eugene.
You're welcome.
Who's next on cue, mods? I think C. Marie. Go.
So, in answer to your question, when he created man, he created them on the west side and placed them on the east
When
side.
Elohim created man, I'm speaking loud because y'all speaking so low today that the people can't hear y'all on the other broadcast. So Elohim created man and he
When
put him on the
Elohim
west.
created man,
Let me help you. Yeah, let me help you. Y'all doing too much. All right, hold on. So your question is, when Elohim made man, he created man on the west side. Now go finish your point.
no, it wasn't a question. It was the answer to your question. Um, that you posed when you was answering Eugene. My thought was when he created man on the west side and he placed him on the east side where the tree of life and the tree of good and evil was, and where the ground automatically responded to Adam every time he stepped when he was in right with Elohim. But after he ate the tree of good and evil, when he was removed back to the west side of the garden, or out of the garden to the west side where he was once created, where now the ground would no longer respond to him, that he has to now work the ground.
Pause. Too fast. You're going too fast. Too much information. Too fast. Now listen. We're gonna deconstruct what you said. We're gonna dissect it, rather, to make it add more value. You know exactly what you're saying. I'm listening to you. It would confuse me if I did not know what I know. Would you allow me to help you present that to that?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So, for those of y'all twisted on whether or not, the west side, east side is a real beef, okay. When Elohim made man, chapter 2, he put man he made man and then he built a garden in the east. So, the fact that Elohim built the Arden garden in the east means that man was made technically based on the garden being in the east in the west. Okay? So we know man by that was made on the west side. Now Elohim makes him on the west side from a mound of dirt. Then he puts him in the Garden of Eden that Elohim made, luxurious, posh garden. And then he said, I'm taking man from the west side, gonna put him on the east side. So all y'all on the west coast, I guess it ain't the best coast. I'm just putting it out there. It's in the Bible. So who's that listen to me? All right, so here we go. All right. That was good. That was good. That was good. That was a revelation. I got that in Sabbath. Okay. So y'all didn't like that? That wasn't funny? Okay. All right. So the he made man on the west out of some dirt, some mud. He put man in the east where he made this posh environment, the garden. But when he put him there, see, Mystique, I'm gonna help me deconstruct and dissect what you just said. So when he put man in the garden, what was man's instructions in the garden, see, Marie?
To till the land. Wait a minute.
That's right, that is correct. To till the ground. He made man. He then, after making man, made the garden on the east. He took the man he made in the west, put the man in the garden in the east to do what?
Till the ground.
Till the ground. Okay? To till the ground. That's man's job. Till the ground, till the garden of the ground, till the ground of the garden, till the ground. Y'all gonna get this in a minute. It's gonna hit y'all. Till the ground. Man was made. Elohim made an east package. He made an east garden. Then he put man into the garden to said till the ground, till the garden. That's man's job. Till the ground, till the garden. So that's what you got to do, right? So now that man has that garden till, watch what happens next. Man messes up. Now, to see Marie's point she was trying to make, which was too fast because people will mess that, they'll take that soundbite and run with it and mess it up terribly. Here is why I wanted to correct or enhance what she was saying on that. When man was in the garden, him tilling the ground under obedience without the inducement of the knowledge of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, without that inducement, man and the ground responded through their feet. Whenever man would extend, the garden, wherever man would step, the garden would extend. Wherever man would step, the garden would be enriched. Wherever man would step, if he stepped on a part that wasn't the garden would extend on that dry dirt ground with the garden being produced. So where man would step, the garden would extend. When man was in the garden, he stepped, the garden would be enhanced. It would be enriched right there at that spot. So the longer he walked in that ground, he was tilling that ground. When he stepped outside of the ground of Eden and he put his foot outside of it, then the garden would extend itself. It's important to understand that. See why I had to stop it, see, Marie?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Why you sound down?
I'm not down.
Oh, okay. So that's the part I got to make sure we don't just go and just run over. So now, why is that important? Well, because Elohim then curses the ground after he deals with the serpent and the womb man's body. He doesn't curse the man's body. He curses the ground. So the ground no longer responds to the man's body. The ground responds to Elohim. We back yet? Can y'all see me now?
Not on Facebook. Yes, you're back on Facebook now. You're on Facebook. Yes. You're on YouTube.
Okay, there we go. All right, that's going to be proof that we're not going to have a whole bunch more time. So let me get through these questions. No more questions. We're going to answer the last questions we have on platform, and then we're going to get off. Thank you guys for your patience. Sorry about that. All right, so listen, here's the catch. When Adam was in the garden, he messed up, right? Elohim cursed the ground, not the body of Adam, so that the ground does not respond to Adam's steps. Therefore, the only way the ground can respond is to Adam's knees and his hands and the sweat of his brow. Moderators, please check your microphones, people. Thank you. And so Adam's response and his getting a response for the garden will only come from him working from the brow, sweat of his brow, and from the work of his hands and the sweat of his brow. No longer his feet. All right. Now, here's the catch. That's how the ground now responds to him. But what I want to make sure y'all pick up on is that when when Elohim made man, he made him westward of the garden because the garden was made eastward. West, east, don't complain about it. With that, Elohim then, putting man back on the west side, closes the east entrance. So he can't get back in there. And puts a sword around it. We talked about the sword. All right, so C. Marie, what more of that did you need to touch on?
That was more or less it. Just stating that there was two different sides. So when he said he moved him out of the garden, he moved him back to the opposite side. That was it.
But not to the opposite side of the garden. So it wasn't like he took it from the west side of the garden and put him on the east side of the garden. So right. This is not a garden thing. These are two separate parcels of land. You have the undeveloped and you got the developed. The garden is the developed land. And when man in right order would step beyond the development would expand every step he took. Y'all gonna act like y'all knew that. Not today.
So let me just get this so I can get my purpose.
Who are you? Who is this?
All
right, go.
When he was in Elohim, when he was in proper order with Elohim, where he stepped the garden expanded. When he ate from the tree of good and evil, the garden stopped expanding. So he was removed completely from that area to undeveloped area.
No, the garden doesn't stop expanding. The ground stops taking the command of man.
Okay.
Get it?
Yes, I understand.
The ground is cursed, not the garden. Well, the ground, the garden? No, there's a difference. Watch. Anybody's brain clicking right now?
Mine is.
Okay. So the ground is cursed, not the garden. Well, the garden comes out of the ground, yes, but the ground that would usually respond to him is not responding to him the same way. So Elohim does not stop the garden from responding to Adam. That's why he had to push man out of the garden. Listen, y'all. The ground is where Adam would be stepping to extend the garden. Every new extension of the garden responds to Adam. That's why Yahweh was like, all right, curse the ground. There's no more extension under Adam's reign. And get him out the garden because he still can eat this fruit. He got to make his own fruit now. He can't eat none of this fruit. Y'all okay?
I see where I said it wrong.
But that's cool. But does everybody else see that? The garden is fine. Elohim made that it will never be dysfunctional. That's why he said, listen, man can't have this no more. So he moves man out of the garden. While cursing the ground, man has to go and duplicate the garden in. The garden's fine. The tree of life is fine. That's why you and I need the second Adam to have access to Eden. I love teaching. Okay, get your munchies back. Go to the fridge, get your ice cream. All right, just do it. You're gonna be sitting here not talking to me until you do. Go. So, so the garden still works. That's why I sing that song so passionately. Let's get back to Eden. That's what Adam came to do, to give you access back to Eden. Eden could technically be metaphorical for grace, for glory, a place where Yahweh provides all your need. I'm not going to get into that today. Y'all not ready for that conversation. Y'all ready, but my battery's not. I'm out. I'm out here outside. I'm not going to go back inside and get my battery and charge it. We're just going to end it here. Does that help anybody a little bit, or maybe a little bit, a whole lot, like a little bit? All right. So the garden still functions. The ground you and I are working on is cursed because of our eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's why you have such a hard time digging and keeping the plants, and now we got to learn how to do agriculture. Let me give you a little ticket. I'm gonna do it anyway because I don't know if my battery gonna hold up, and it wouldn't be fair to y'all to do this. Get y'all all excited and then drop it. Here we go. Watch. The garden still functions. You and I, through Messiah, get back into the garden. The second Adam.
Yes.
Thank you, Apostle. The first Adam got us kicked out. The second Adam, we have access. The first Adam got kicked out. We got denied access because of the first Adam. The second Adam gave us access again to the Garden of Eden. That's why he said, I didn't come to bring y'all shalom. You already got it. You just need me to get back into it. Can I mess y'all up? No. Right. You have the sword. He came to cut that mess off your soul. He came to divide that spirit of evil that you took in by Adam off of your soul. Hebrews 4:12. Somebody say I'm gonna learn today.
On the tree of life without this, what Yeshua came to bring, so we can have.
So we already have shalom. It's in the earth. Here's the catch. Let me tell y'all something else. Y'all know that y'all trying to speak stuff back into existence, that the cherubs are over a great deal of the wealth in the earth. Did y'all know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, the cherubs are over. But it's yes, Apostle. It goes deeper than the manifesting y'all hearing. It ain't just you speak it and claim it. You have angels assigned to you on purpose, because they know where the bedulum, they know where the gold, they know where the silver, they know where the platinum, they know where the uranium, they know where all the precious metals in the earth are. They are cherubs over it. Did y'all not know that Lucifer was a cherub? He was decked out in jewels because the cherubs cover and protect the jewels. You have ministering spirits to you that are angels that are over everything that is designed to get to you. We have to learn how to understand the word so the angels can lead us into what Elohim has already for us in the earth. I'll break down the river Euphrates. This part in your Bible. Can y'all go to chapter 2 real quick? Hurry up. Chapter 2. Watch. Verse 6. But there went up amidst of the earth, watered the whole face of the ground. Yahweh formed man out of the dust of the ground and breathed in the nostrils of man the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Elohim then planted a garden eastward in Eden. There he put the man whom he formed. Out of the ground made Yahweh to grow every tree that is pleasant for sight and good for food, and the tree of life also that was in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and a river. Here it is, pay attention. And a river went out of Eden. What? A river went out of Eden to water the garden. What? Yeah. And from thence it was parted and became into four heads. The first name was Pison, that is, which compassed the whole land of Havalia, where there is gold. Pay attention. And the gold of that land is good. And there's bdellium and there's onyx stone. Now the name of the second river is Gihon. The name of that river is and the same it is that compasses the whole land of Ethiopia. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel. That is which goes toward the east of Assyria. And the fourth river is Euphrates. Elohim then took man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. Now, when you read about these three stones in verse number 4, the gold, the bdellium, and the onyx stone, you got to go back into reading the prophets when it talked about how Lucifer was dressed and how Yahweh adorned him in stones, many stones. But here's the point. There's only three stones in the garden. There's only three stones in this river. The cherubims are the ones who are actually over the wealth of the earth. Satan used to be a cherub. That's why he could offer in the earth, even Yeshua, if you bow down and worship me, I'll give you X and so. We're going to come back next week and talk about that a little bit.
He's teaching on that one, Apostle.
Yeah, we're going to help you.
Talk about whetting my appetite.
Yeah, that's the whole purpose of it. Not for likes, though, for understanding. Y'all got that?
Got it.
So we'll talk about the whole structure, the hierarchy of angels, what seraphims do, what cherubims do, what angels do, which ones are ministering spirits to you, what they do with regard to you, and how it works when you comply with the writ. Why y'all think that there was two cherubs? What do y'all think was sitting on the Ark of the Covenant?
Cherubim.
You know why that is? Why do you think they always had that at the east? Say it again.
It was a protector.
Cherubs are protectors. So why do you think it was at the east? Anybody ever wonder why the tabernacle would always be to the east of the camp? It's a portal. You have the cherubs and their wings touching, creating a portal. And then you have it at the east, which is what he put cherubs there to protect. So man, unlike the word, not with the word, can't come in and get from Elohim anything. A double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. Let not that man think he shall receive anything of Elohim. This goes so much deeper than you and I have ever been taught within Christendom. And yet it is something we need to grasp within Christendom, because we just tapped on these shallow issues at the top of the script. This is so much deeper. It's a protection portal. So when Yahweh says, I'll supply all your need according to my riches and glory by Yeshua HaMashiach, yeah, we've been missing out, Tally. We've been missing out. That's it, Veronica. You should be going wild too. Right. Yeah. There's so much more to this than we have ever possibly imagined. We've been just missing out because we've just taken these little crumbs that we've been preached about. Please go learn your Bible. Please go learn. No. Please go learn the Torah so you can learn your Bible. Because you don't know your Bible unless you know the Torah. You don't know nothing what Yeshua did unless you understand the Torah. You know nothing about what Paul was talking about if you don't know the Torah. You have no clue what Yochanan was talking about if you've not read the Torah properly. You don't even know what Revelations is going to be producing for us unless all of it in its magnitude, unless you understand the Torah. It's all in the Torah and it's in Bereshit. That's the start of wisdom. So when you look at the angel was dressed in when he told him, he says he was talking to him in the book of Isaiah about how he dressed Lucifer, how he dressed him. He was dressed the shiny cherub. He had all these stones on him, but there's only three stones in the earth. Cherubs protect and guard the wealth of the wicked. So that's why we say there's going to be a wealth of the wicked will be transferred. We'll talk later. My battery's dying. Hope you come back now. You hear? I'll keep the light on. All right, where's we have I know we got two more questions. Where's brother Felton at? Is he still with us? Eric Felton? He had a question. Anybody get it? Battery's dying, so talk quick if you got it. Anybody got Felton's question?
Sade on the platform as well.
Felton's on the platform. Felton, talk to me. What you got, sir?
I said you had Sade on the platform as well.
Sade as well. Okay, that's fine. We'll come to her in a second. Let's see if we can get Felton straightened out. Is Felton still with us?
He wanted to know how to spell the Trinity the correct way. What's the correct word?
Yeah, Trinity. But I'm not even a fan of the Trinity. That whole Calvinism.
Right. He's just talking about the three, Elohim.
Oh, the spelling of the three. Okay, okay. So Elohim is Elohim. Adonai is Adonai. Ruach Hakodesh is Ruach. New word Ha. New word Kodesh. I don't have. He doesn't have audio. YouTube doesn't have audio.
No, we do not.
YouTube doesn't have audio.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. Say something again.
Testing 1 2 3.
Yes, we have audio.
You're welcome, brother Felton. Somebody type in Ruach Hakodesh for him. Matter of fact, just type in somebody who can do that. Well, you're there, Prophet Leslie.
Yeah.
Make sure you spell it. Elohim. New word. Then you go for Adonai, Adonai, AI. Then you're going to put in Ruach Hakodesh, Ruach. New word, Ha. New word, Kodesh. And that's just the phonetic English. That's the transliteration. So, all right, Sade, what you got?
Shalom Apostle and everyone. I just had another take on the garden story, but I don't know if we have time just because of the battery situation. It was just another, because you had asked if we had who had a perspective on it, so I just had a perspective I wanted to share.
All right, what you got?
It's important at this point.
I didn't hear you. I think I lost. I think something broke us up. What were you saying, Sade?
Yeah, I had another take on the because you had asked the question.
Okay, what's your take?
Do you hear me?
I hear you now. What's your take? What's your take on and what would you just go ahead and share?
My take is man has always been an eternal being when man was created, right? So it didn't seem that the concern wasn't for man's eternal existence, which
Pause.
was already a given.
Let me correct it. Man was not always an eternal being. Fact. Where we pick up on the his story of man, it is relevant. Watch. Man was made, then he breathed into man. So man was made just like any other beast of the field. At that moment, he's not eternal. Then Elohim breathes into man. Man becomes a living soul. So man was made on the earth from the dirt, like the bubble, like the bird, like the lion, like the Bengal, like the elephant. They're made from the dirt, but they don't have a soul. Elohim didn't breathe into them. So when he made man, people keep thinking, I guess they think that when he made man out of the dirt, man was this puppet, and then he breathed into the puppet, and the puppet became alive. No, man was made like every other beast of the field. What made him different and made him eternal was the soul. So until Elohim ruached into humanity, why he calls him the man, man does not become a living soul. And these are the small nuances that you really don't get told because of the way that Christendom preaches the name it, claim it, blab it, grab it, all that other garbage that goes along with it. So, man, when he was made, and if you just read it slow, just read it slow for what it is and for what it does, just read it. It's very clear and very systematic. It makes it very, very clear. Man was made, then Elohim breathed into man. Man was made, then Elohim breathed, then man became a living soul. Every other beast on the planet, none of them have a soul. Nothing made from dirt has a soul, but it's a living being. Only humanity has a soul. The soul is what's eternal. Until Elohim breathed into man, it does not become eternal. Just for the record, Sade, and I know you like information like that because you'll use it later in a good way. Okay, go ahead. Finish your thoughts.
Okay, I'm just reading from what you just said. So I have to pause because everything else was premised on this. So if 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 man was not, if man could be alive without being eternal, then that changes everything.
Yeah.
What I have to say next is kind of irrelevant.
No, it's not irrelevant, Sade. There's no Sade, it's not irrelevant. It's not a dumb question. I'm not gonna let you go out like that. Do not feel any kind of weird way about it. This is why we have Shabbat. Because until that question gets out there, so many other people are gonna have the same thing. And this is what we do. We ask the question because you don't know who else you're helping. People don't realize that your question helps somebody else who don't know how to ask the question.
Okay.
And then we all walk away saying, I wish I would have asked it. Go ahead. What's your question? Finish it.
I thought the concern wasn't for man's eternal existence per se, but rather that man would be condemned to live forever in his fallen state had he eaten or had he been allowed to eat from the tree of life.
Right.
God forbid that man died. He didn't die out of this.
So slow down, Sade, because everybody can't hear you. I know you're thinking from your head and you're speaking straight out your head, but it's coming out so fast and so fiery, everybody not gonna grasp what you're saying. And what you're saying is right, but I gotta slow you down. So if man would, based on the concept of man being pre-existent, existing previously as eternal, if man would have eaten of the fruit of the tree of life, he would have been condemned to live in that fallen state, which occurred after he ate the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Right?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
that would have been a condemnation to man. Now go ahead, finish.
It seemed apparent that man was sent out of the garden just basically to prevent the eating of the tree of life.
Absolutely.
So to be given life forevermore without being redeemed first from sin would have been disastrous, right? So I felt Elohim's concern was that man had to be redeemed first before living forever.
Well, man is going to live forever. Yes. The issue is living forever
in this state.
Living life, because you have two things in this world, earth. You are on a what do we want to call it? Not a trampoline, or I guess you could call it a trampoline if you wanted to. Get off me. I love you, but go. You're bothering my broadcast. Now, God love you. I love you too, but I will crush you. Move. Thank you. See, you can talk to the animals. They move. They get out the way. Listen, here's the point. Um, so, um, that was a bug. The point is, man is in fact going to live forever. Now that he breathed into him, man is forever an eternal element, right? And Elohim showed extreme mercy kicking man out of the garden. Because if man would have eaten the tree of the not a tree of life, he would have remained. It would have been a condemnation to him to live forever in that fallen state.
Right.
Now watch. See, here's where you got to take your time and y'all stop falling for all this crazy preacher stuff y'all getting around here. When Adam fell, first thing Yahweh did, cursed the serpent, cursed the body of his womb man, then cursed the ground. Look at what happened. So if man continues with cursed ground that won't respond to him, and the body of woman who is cursed, we know that benefit. The serpent's body is cursed. That's that benefit or issue. But the world would not be responding to Adam. He then says, "Garden, get out of it." If he would have eaten of the tree, he would have been living in a world that was mercy. You might think it petty. It's a
Right.
fact. That's mercy. Elohim extended mercy by kicking man out the garden, lest
So
he ate of the tree and lived forever.
so I'll just conclude by saying that man now we die out of this earth, even with Yeshua's coming, who has now given us eternal life. But because we didn't eat from, or Adam didn't eat the tree of life, humanity dies out, right? And then, you know, because again, the dying out is, it was a thing, because we already had an eternal existence, because Yahweh had already breathed into us,
The the
right?
the sword that was around the tree. If man was to continue in his existing state, he would have had to get fruit from that tree by being killed by that sword.
Right.
In order for man to have that life, he would have had to die out by that sword in order to get the tree of life. Remember, Yeshua died that we might have a chance at the tree of life. Wow, that hit different, don't it?
Yes, it is. I conclude. Thank you, Apostle.
Thank you. Good question, good topic, and I know you just helped to stir somebody else's brain because we didn't think about it that way. We really don't, and that's because we're just doing so much churchy stuff. But at the end of the day, you got to realize that in order for Adam to be used and not need a second Adam, he would have had to die out to that tree. He would have had to go for that tree of life and take that sword. That sword protected the tree to preserve the way of righteousness. In order to get that tree now, because you ate the fruit, you got to die. Fortunately, the tree is the tree is a tree of life, so you'll live. Call it a resurrection. I don't care what you want to call it, but we would not have had to had a second Adam because the first Adam would have been fine. He allowed himself to be killed. Lord, make me over. And then he would have been resurrected, and we're looking at the first Adam, not the second Adam, having to come back and do what needed to be done. When he did not, when that tree had that sword around it, it was protected. If he wanted that fruit, if he wanted to be right with God so much, he'd go after that tree, let that sword hit him, separate that spirit of evil from his soul, And some of y'all gonna be like, he talking crazy. That's why y'all should listen to that man. But I just gave y'all everything you needed to know about the sword separating the spirit from soul. He wasn't separating the Holy Spirit. What spirit you think it was separating? From soul. And Elohim breathed into man, and man became a living soul. What spirit you think it was? Evil spirit that just connected to the soul of Adam in the eating of that fruit. The sword divides that spirit from the soul. Man, I'm gonna leave y'all alone. My battery died. Elder Face, that makes sense. All right, y'all.
Montgomery,
Go ahead. Who's next in queue? Montgomery, go.
you do still have two questions
All right,
on here,
bring them,
but I
bring them,
know,
bring them, bring them. Battery's dying quick, so y'all gotta talk quick.
yeah, Sister C here in
Uh,
says, can you explain?
Go ahead.
Can you explain the wealth of the wicked? That's question
We
one.
won't have time to explain the wealth of the wicked
Right.
today. Right.
The second one is Selena. She wants to know, so when Jeremiah speaks of before you were formed, I knew you, is that being known in spirit or by soul?
Repeat.
She wants to know, Jeremiah speaking of before you were formed, I knew you. Is that being known in the spirit or by soul?
That well, the spirit and soul, they're the same. Remember, before you get put into this pulchritude, you are sent from the mind of Elohim into that earth suit you and I wear. So your life is being predestined. Your path of life is predestined in the mind of Elohim. Your obedience to the predestined path is what gets messed up when you end up in this earth suit. So he's mapped out a life for you, but this flesh, by the time the soul in his mind gets into this body, i.e., this flesh, now the soul has some contention and it's got other options, which is why we are free will moral agents. You have to choose either the flesh or the word of Elohim to obey. The word of Elohim is a predestined path of rightness. I know my plans concerning you, plans of good, not of evil, plans to give you an expected end. But when you get on this flesh suit as a soul, you got to fight through the temptations that come with that. And you got to fight to make sure that you're living the way that He would for you to live and thereby operate as He has given command and instructions for. These are the significant things to understand about that. So when He says, I knew you, yes, he knows all of us before. He doesn't just like know about you. He put everything together on you, for you, towards you, about you, and then he sent you into earth. You came from eternity, which is where Sade's question can be best understood how Christendom just let that slide. Because Adam, after Adam, we're all eternal from soul. But the first man was not eternal. Now, you and I we're coming from the mind of Elohim. We're all souls now, and we're in his mind. When he's ready to put us into earth, he speaks us out of eternity into a continuum called time. We live in time. It's a journey through time, it's a pilgrimage through time, and then we leave time and go back into eternity resumed. So, you and I came from eternity past. We come into time, we leave time, and go into eternity resumed. Now, what you did in time determines how you live in eternity resumed. You either live in heaven or you live in eternal fire, eternal life or eternal death. But you will be eternal no matter what. So I knew you before I sent you into the world, before I sent you into that earth suit. I knew you before I formed you in your mother's womb. Before I put your soul in that body, that embryo, I knew you. That is spiritual, that is eternal. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. She said, wow.
Yahweh alone be praised. Okay. Well, let me see what we got here.
Eugene.
I don't think we got more time, Eugene. All right. Trying to get something done here. Um, I like what Dana Michelle said. Dana, you on the platform still? Dana Michelle, she still here?
No, she's not here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool beans. All right. Well, guys, I do know that I'm probably just gonna sit out here the rest of the day and
I'm
enjoy.
here. I'm here. I'm
Hey,
here.
how
I'm
you
here.
how you doing?
Hey, Dana.
Good.
Hi. Shabbat Shalom.
How are you today?
I'm doing well.
I speak
Hope
Shabbat.
everybody else is doing well.
Excellent. I speak Shabbat Shalom over you as well. And
Thanks.
and the thing that I was trying to reference, people don't know. I didn't do it. I just happened to check my phone, and you made the statement about if you're to be honest, if you're free, you're free. And what you speak matters. That was you that wrote that, right?
Right. I feel like people are, yeah, I feel like people are cursing themselves when they keep saying that they're an addict. Like, I get that addicts need to be honest with themselves, and that's part of the recovery process. But it's like once you're over it, there's no point in to continue calling yourself an addict.
Right. And I think that it is extremely important, Dana, because for me as a addictions counselor for decades, and the reason I think that people can relate to me is because you know, I was grossly cross addicted, um, and it wasn't, you know, it was out of just lifestyle, people I was with, people I grew up with, in and out of home, and so when I talk about it, any real addict knows, yeah, he been there. When I talk about the pain, and they know, yeah, he really been there. Um, they might not even know me, but they're like, yeah, I know what he's talking about. Um, and so what I found was very important for most people to I think everybody needs to know this, is that when you speak, I am a recovering addict, right? You're saying I'm not delivered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not. I'm in recovery. Well, let me ask you a question. Any major surgery that you have, they put you in the operating room. After the operating room, they take you into ICU, CCU, you know, CU, right? And that's your recovery. They monitor you there. Then once you've recovered a month, 3 days, 5 hours, however they determine for recovery, your next step may be a room just for more monitoring, but you are technically still in recovery at levels. That's fine. But after a point, they release you back into society because the operation was a success. Your body function, your levels, your water levels, your sugar levels, your sodium levels, your liver, your creatine, and all that stuff is acting right. You're normal again. Now, if you're allergic to peanuts, you don't go back eating peanuts. But the surgery worked, the operation worked. You are now back in society. You're not sitting in a recovery room. So that means that every time you go to work, you come out of work and you got to go back to the hospital to sleep. So you're telling yourself, I need the hospital. So now you're addicted to recovery.
Yeah, just like they want you to be. I never thought about that in terms of how you said it initially. That's a good point.
Yeah,
you're addicted to their system.
You're addicted to another system. And if you're going to be addicted to anything, it better be Yahweh. Get addicted to Sabbath keeping. How about that?
Amen.
get get addicted to keeping Shabbat. How about we do that? And let's see how everything in your world changes. Not just your weight change. You're picking up more weight now because you can eat again. You're not on speed. You're not on heroin. You're not on cocaine. You're not on, all this other crazy stuff. So, hey, this is what it's about. And I was just looking at that statement. What you say, people, and I've always told you all, you live in a voice activated kingdom. You live in a voice activated kingdom. What you speak becomes your reality. So if I speak, I'm free. If I speak, I am an ex addict. Then you are an ex addict. Now, you can't fool yourself. Now, your actions are going to prove what you are. But if you're living a life that you are free from those particular issues and vices, then stay away. Saying you're recovering doesn't help you stay away. Saying you're recovering, saying I still need this crutch. Well, every broken ankle usually gets a crutch, some apparatus to help you walk. But after a while, your ankle shores up. You still got to walk on your own. You can't go walking around with a good ankle, um, um, with a good ankle, leaning on a crutch. That means you want attention. That's probably how you got addicted the first time. So now we've not left and cured the problem of why we are addicted to anything.
Amen.
Now that, yeah, I was waiting for you to say amen on that one. Then I knew you was gonna come through. Good job. Because you've not addressed the issue of why you're addicted to anything. Ice cream, comfort food. All right, I confessed. I just confessed. Y'all happy now? I want some ice cream so bad. And that truck would not leave. He just kept going in front of me. It's good for the soul, Brother Ben. It's good for the soul. It took the word to separate that spirit off of my soul. Glory. That's it. Shabbat. Guys, thank you. Dana, thanks for sharing that with us. It was great information. Good conversation piece. Guys, I'm going to get out of here. All of my batteries are saying LOW. But I'm going to take that and make that a message. Everybody, from right now until you get out of your Shabbat, wherever you are, and even if you're out of your Shabbat, make sure you lay low before the Father, lay prostrate in his presence, and let his presence fill you, ingratiate you, teach you, coddle you, hold you, and tell you that you belong to him. And you make the confession, Yahweh, I belong to you. I promise you guys, I love you to life eternal. And there's nothing more in this world that I love doing other than sharing what I know of life about His Word with you. You like it, you like it. You do, you do. You do, you do. You don't, you don't. But I hope that when they lay the epitaph on my stone, should I die before the rapture take place, that it can be said He loved teaching the Word and helping people have a relationship with the Father. That's all I want to be here for. Anything else? I don't need more likes. I don't need more people. I just want to be with people trying to make their relationship with the Father greater and thereby, as we like to say, heaven our home. But we're not going to be in heaven long, right? Y'all do know we're not going to be in heaven long, right? Y'all know there's a new heaven and new earth that will come after this one. Anybody want to be addicted to Sabbath?
Yep. I know.
I'll be your pusher, man. I'll be your pusher, man. If you want to get addicted to Shabbat, I got a package of some word over here. Take a couple hits of that. You want, hey, you want a half a Bible? You want a quarter Bible? Look, I got some specials. This is concentrated. I got some Torah right here. Yeah, y'all want that? It's free. Let me just bless you with it. It's funny. I think about all the tactics and techniques I used to use when I sold, that contraband, and it's the same thing. I want you to. I'll be your pusher, man. I'll push this word to you all day long. If you want to listen, and guess what? It's free. It is free of charge. There is no. Even when I was out in the world. Can I say this without y'all getting mad at me? When I was out in the world, I was sharing this with somebody. I was sharing this with somebody the other day. Even when I used to get high in the world, I've always been like I can be social, but I've always been like, to me, I'd rather sit in my space, watch my TV, wrap my blanket, and do what I do. But even when I would get, to the point where I'd enjoy contraband back in the day, which I don't do today, but it was even back then, it was like, I didn't do it alone. I didn't mind being alone. Don't have a problem being alone. Got no problem being by myself. I got enough company with me, myself, and I. We good. Don't need nobody else. But if you worthy, I don't mind you hanging out. Here's the catch. So I would always be able and love doing it. And then I'd be like, it's just not cool doing it by yourself. And so what I would end up doing is going ahead and saying, hey, yo, I got something over here. I got a half ounce. I got a quarter. I got a eight. I got a half or whatever. You know, won't you come over? Or let's go meet up. Because I didn't like getting high alone. So even when I'm studying these words, I get high when I read this word. When I'm in this word, I'm in this package, I'm in my bag, I'm high as a kite. And guess what? I don't like being high alone. I can be. I can be real selfish about this and don't y'all even know I got it. What? I don't know what you're talking about. Get away. No, it's mine. But I love to share it. Even when I was out in the world, I was like, yo, hey, I got, would you wanna take a hit? You wanna smoke? You wanna drink? No, you ain't gotta pay me. I just like to just be community. Just let us have a moment. I'll find out if you're worthy of that later on or not, but that's just the way I am. So whenever I'm opening up this writ, I want to share it with you guys. Just like I did when I was in the world, I do the same thing here in faith.
Wow.
Anybody know that world, know what I just said.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because there's some
I'm going
people,
to ask you, is the word flavors?
yeah, I got flavors. We got Belshits, we got Shemot,
No, no.
we got Samuel, we got Kings, we got Devarim, we got Bambibar. Yeah, we got some flavors. And the flavors got flavors. You heard me? And it and it's
All
and it's
right.
and it's all
Yes,
organic.
indeed.
It's all organic. You ain't gotta add nothing to it. Just open the package up and consume. You can't. can't overdose, don't end up in the hospital. Ain't that weird? The thing that you took to give you some kind of pleasure put you in the hospital. Ain't that something?
It makes you want to come back for more.
I don't know what we talking about here, Ben.
Yeah, where you at, Ben? What's up, bro? Talk to me. What Ben talking about? I'm in the hospital. I don't want no more hospital, Ben. What's up?
The ice cream, though.
Oh, bro, we on a. You know, we're not talking about ice cream, right? I love me some Ben and Jerry's.
That's a different napkin ministry, though.
Yeah. That was good.
That's
That's a
different.
different. That's a different napkin ministry. That was good. I love me some Ben and Jerry's.
Who's a Jerry?
Yeah. Well, guys, we're going to get out of here. Father, we thank you for the daytime and space. Thank you for the opportunity to share. Thank you for your place, your space out here in this beautiful world. Thank you for a day that I could come out without worrying about heat stroke and just sit in your presence, in my space, with you, feeling it. I pray we've done you justice in talking about things of Torah for practical application in life. I pray that anything spoken from Torah would rest and saturate the souls of your people, helping us to grow further and closer to you in all ways. Anything not of the truth, anything spoken in error or subjective or eisegetics, that Father, it would be removed strictly, sternly, and strictly stricken from the record of the minds and hearts of your people. Bless now, I pray you, your people who listen to your word and look to observe your word to do it. In the mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray and I say, Amen. All right, Zion, it's been a joy. Been a pleasure. We love you all to life eternal. Hope that you guys will remember who and what we are and why we do what we do. We'll look to see you again soon. Yeshua HaMashiach be glorified in all things and in all ways. We speak Shabbat Shalom to you, and we're asking you to be glorified. The Father be glorified. I'm trying to get off. It just won't let me get off. I don't know how. Here we go.